Hello, folks, fans, and freaks. This is a special combination episode of both the Jerk Off Hour and
Into the Deep.
My name is Dr. J. Cole, and I'm here with my co-host
Clayton AD.
How deep do you want to go?
How off do you want to jerk?
Tonight's show is brought to you by wickedbad.net, home of the illest, and our sponsoring podcasts. Get on the site, click on them, like them, listen, love, respects. Let's get this shit started. We got a lot to talk about. I'm fighting a cold, so I won't monopolize on the words. I'm all scratchy and shit here. I'll let you do a lot of the explaining of everything that went down.
Cool.
So, tonight's guest is the beautiful Kayla Kiltraven, and I always say that with an Irish accent. Kayla Kiltraven.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome. Would you like some water?
I'm good for now.
You good for now? Yeah.
So, you want to tell us about your trip to India?
Well, in about a week, I'm going to be heading to Bangor, New York, to eventually get a bus to New York and fly to India. I'm going to be heading with my fire tribe, Indus tribe, and we're going to be going for 4 months. Starting off in Goa. There's going to be some juggling festivals and whatnot there. Spend a couple weeks there and then head to Orwellian, which is near Pondicherry, Orwellian is an intentional community. It's been running for a couple decades. And we're going to be staying in Sedona Forest in Orwellian, and they just got hit by a couple cyclones about a month ago. So we're going to be going and helping rebuild their structures, and I think there was a $50,000 loss between buildings and everything else.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So is that like the main purpose of your trip then, is to rebuild? And
well, we had planned to go before this even happened. This only happened about a month ago, not even. So our plan was to, actually we decided to go after Occupy was evicted. It was kind of just like a, where are we going to go now? What are we going to do? How can we further ourselves? And we decided to go to India. So originally, it was more of a kind of get our shit together and as a tribe and come together and build our connection.
And do something.
Yeah, and do something
fun and different and
why
get out
not?
of here for a while.
Yeah. But now we're going to be staying there for a little bit longer and helping out there and working with the community there. And last time Sean was there, he met a couple who started the youth center in Orwellian in Sedona Forest. So we're going to go and help them out mostly. And then in Pondicherry, Sean also has a friend that he met there last time who just recently started a NGO there for children in an orphanage. So we're going to go and spend a couple weeks there and just do some classes and some whatnot. It's going to be kind of difficult because they don't speak very much English, but they're kind of like the untouchables of the society. Just rather...
You mean the untouchables like the gangsters, or the untouchables what some people might call undesirables?
Undesirables, yeah. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you were planning on going to India before you even knew about the disasters and whatnot. So, you know, I've met several people from India who come here and say, don't go to India. You know, India, it's not a nice place to visit. Don't even bother going to visit. So why had you picked India beforehand? Was it because of the youth center thing? Or was there something else?
She wants to root through the piles of garbage.
Yeah,
cool
I like garbage.
Electronics you can find.
Lot.
And disease.
No, I really like experiencing other cultures and understanding different perspectives. And Sean has already been there before.
Okay.
And I know that a lot of the like fire culture comes from there as well. So it'd be interesting to go and meet some other fire performers and musicians and collaborate. And they have a very amazing understanding of community there. There's a lot of amazing intentional communities in India. And it's all perspective. Some people who are native to India may not see that as beautiful and like and whatnot, and come and see our like monetary system and material system as something really beautiful and grand, when I think it's really disgusting, and I would never recommend anybody to really
come visit you.
Yeah, like Canada's an amazing, beautiful place, but
I know. And when people ask, they're like, "What's Canada like?" I'm like, well, you drive on these 4-lane highways for like 4 or 5 hours, and there's nothing but trees.
If you like trees and rocks.
Yeah, trees and rocks and pavements.
Come on, have time. But, yeah.
Having a time.
Yeah.
Trees and rocks, having a time.
Exactly.
Sounds good.
So you mentioned intentional communities a few times. Can you elaborate on exactly what those are?
An intentional community is any community who either has like an environmental intention or just an intention to build up a like safe community, I guess. Just something that has an intention behind it, rather than like our communities that we have that aren't really connected, aren't really working together, working intentionally together.
Right.
We just kind of work on our own and hope that
things fall into place.
Yeah.
Drones all doing our own thing, but not with any real clear goal or purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be interesting to live like that in a place where, you know, everyone is on the same track and on the same page, into the same thing.
Yeah. And when you don't have the like necessity to have a job, and you're living in a single house, like, you know, just you, and you have to upkeep all of this stuff, when there's a large community and everybody can like work together and work for each other, rather than like, you know, working for one person, or, you know, you can trade and you don't have to have money. And
Yeah, that's a really awesome way to live. Much more natural.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, though, because I do believe that it only works in smaller groups. Like, I don't think that would be possible in a city like HRM. Like, we couldn't all work toward the same goal.
100% agree.
I've always been interested in communities where you raise kids, or instead of having, like, these strictly defined parental figures, it's like you're raised by the whole community, and therefore everyone takes responsibility in raising good people who, you know, are going to come back and kill them later on, and rob them and steal from them and everything. Yeah. And so, like, when there is like a bad apple or a bad seed, like, everyone will, like, you know, find a way to like right those.
And most kids are bad and devilish because they don't have enough attention anyways, because their parents are off working or something, you know. And when a child learns from a set of parents, 2 people, they're only learning their 2 ideals. They're learning from a group of people. They can go and learn whatever they want from anybody that will teach them, you know. Completely different dynamic.
So what is the intention of your intentional community?
The one that I'm going to visit?
Yes.
The first kind of paragraph in their mission statement is that everybody should have equal chance, equal right, equal opportunity, and that, like, nobody should need the use of money to be a part of the society, or be a working part of the society. So it's really just the non-importance of money, and the importance of community.
Okay, I get that. Yeah. So you could say that the intention is to function well without a monetary system.
Yeah, and all the children grow up without a graded system.
So one is not better than the other, kind of thing, like competing and all this.
Yeah, they're taught to strive and to learn, but they're allowed to, you know, like, kind of go at their own pace. And
I think everyone kind of thinks, like, well, what's going to make me want to succeed if there's no, like, whip under my ass, or no fire under my ass, and there's no one, like, yelling at me and hitting me to make me go faster and do more, and if there's no ultimate better goal, if the point isn't that I can do better than somebody else, what's the point of doing anything? That's kind of the general consensus everywhere when people look at these kind of communities like this. And so, I don't know, I think that by if you had like, I don't know, like a destiny center of sorts,
Mm-hmm.
like you could be like, well, you haven't found your destiny yet. You don't know what you don't know what you want to do. You don't, a passion center, I guess. Like, what are you passionate about? Put people who are actually passionate about the things into these places that they actually want to do. Like, I'm really into like helping people. Like, well, maybe you want to be a healer. Well, maybe I want to be a healer. Yeah, I don't know. Go to this passion center and find out if you really want to be a healer, which would ultimately be like a way of finding like what courses you're going to take and to develop that further. Maybe you want to be a healer, but maybe you're really not good at it. Maybe you're really good at something else. And the something else might be like ditch digging. But you know what? We shouldn't look down on ditch digging as being like a bad thing, and being lesser than the healer and getting paid less than the healer.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you remove money from the situation, then you're kind of removing a lot of greed.
Yeah.
And greed kind of fuels everything right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because a lot of people say that greed is a like natural instinct or like a natural like, you know, it's a human like, I don't know.
Just the human way.
Yeah.
And to be fair,
Yeah.
I mean, to some extent it is.
But it's definitely taught to us and
Yeah.
definitely fueled by our society.
Yeah. If it hadn't have been taught and hadn't been implemented at early ages, then if we would have been implemented with other ways of living,
Yeah.
then it would have never been there.
Well, I'm going to play
I don't
devil's
want to say it
advocate
would
on
never
this,
be
though.
there, but it would definitely wouldn't be as strong as it
Yeah,
is.
I
Yeah.
agree with
Like,
that statement
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm like, oh, I like apples. I want all those apples, and I'm gonna put them here in this big pile, and then they all just fucking rot.
Yeah,
And throw
'cause
them out, and then everybody
apples
else
don't last
starves,
forever.
right?
Yeah, but
I
like,
actually don't like apples.
my point is that like even children, you know, like you put children together, even if you've been teaching them, you know, good values like, you know, to share and to play well with others. You put children in a room, you give them some toys. You know, occasionally a child, even who's been taught to share, is going to be like, no, mine, you know, and take those toys and be greedy with those toys.
But again, he has the word mine in his head. It's burned in there from his parents.
True.
Like, don't touch that, that's mine. Like, you want to touch the Ming vase off the shelf. Don't touch that, that's mine.
Yeah.
Put that away. Like,
Yeah.
so I still feel that a lot of it is still handed down.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the term like a starvation society?
No.
No.
It's the idea that like in our society, whether it be food, love, whatever it may be, is there's only so much of it.
Right.
So you have to go and, you know, like get all of that that's around. And like whether there's only so much food, like you and your brother, there's only whatever it is, chocolate. You know what I mean? There's like 3 pieces. There's only so much left. Well, I gotta take that all for myself, or else there's not gonna be any left. Same with love, and same with, you know what I mean? So that's like the idea that you just have to gobble up all the love in the world, or like gobble up all the food in the world, or else there's not gonna be any left. And that's what our society is based on because of money. You know?
Yeah.
It is.
Mhm.
It's unfortunate, too.
Yeah, and that's just something that's always like stuck into my head. Starvation societies.
Starvation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Touching back though to something that you were talking about earlier, I was really interested in the learning system that you were talking about for the kids. If there's no like grading, then is there like a pass and fail sort of balance?
I'm not entirely sure. I was watching a documentary on the community the other day, and they didn't really touch on how they go through their school life. They just basically said that each child is basically like put through the school system without like losing touch of themselves and losing like their child, like what that's within them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're told to like embrace that and to instead of that like competitiveness and the oh, you're not smart because you didn't get an A or a B or, you know, whatever it is. But I'm not entirely sure how they are graded or, you know, graduated or whatnot.
Now, I could see a benefit to like not even having a pass or fail system, because you could just, and especially where you just mentioned with like encouraging their inner child. It's like if you don't have a pass or fail system, then you don't have any sort of like artificial means to measure your own worth. And without an artificial means to measure your own worth, you can really like concentrate and express even like your own natural worth, like the things that you naturally excel at. You won't feel so embarrassed to, put them forth for others to judge,
Yeah.
because you don't feel like, oh, well, they might fail me on this.
Yeah, they might not think I'm good enough.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Hope I don't get a C on my fire juggling.
Yeah. And to be honest, I feel like there would be a lot less like midlife crises if, as a child, you learned what you really enjoy rather than learning like what they want to teach you. You know, if you from a young age were like, oh man, I really like sewing, or I really like fire performing, or I really like, whatever it is, rather than, oh, I hate math, or like.
There's been a lot of media released lately through documentaries and everything about it, which includes even companies like Ford, who are the ones responsible for implementing our education systems that are growing the mass amount of people to be good little consumers and go out there and buy, and spend, and also believe in the bullshit science methods that we tell everybody.
Yeah.
Because, science is not... It's not permanent. Like, it's open to change, but we're not taught that. We're taught, like, well, that's science. Gravity is what's holding us down.
Yeah.
And it's like... There's been recent studies that are showing that, like, well, they kind of think maybe there's an outside force pushing us on to this now. But, as soon as people start talking, oh, that's crazy talk, and then they just go out of their way to defraud these people and show that they're nut jobs and quacks. But, it takes a lot of time and pushing and effort to really fight back, that kind of shit. From the powers that be, anyways.
Yeah.
I recently just heard that, like, in the last month or so, about that Ford and everybody was in there. There was a list of corporations that went on who just sat down at this board one day and were like, we need to figure out a way to control everybody and make everybody do what we want and work at our plants and everything.
You know what I was really surprised at? When I was on Occupy Wall Street, we were in the square, and the next block over there was a high school of finance.
Right.
So where I don't know, I've just never heard of like a classified high school.
A high school.
Where, like grade 9, like, how old are you in grade 9? Like 13?
13, 14.
Yeah, like going and learning specifically about finance.
Boring.
Like, be a child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, run and skin your knees, ride your bike, fall down, make a tree fort.
Yeah, just a couple blocks from Wall
Street.
Street.
Swords.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, I'd like to interject something that's like circumstantial, and the circumstance is that this society that we live in today exists. So that being the circumstance, I would say that it is somewhat of a good idea to teach kids about finance at a young age, so you don't have so many people destroying their own lives financially, going into college for things that they'll never use or decide they don't want, now they owe all this money for, or like poor investment choices, or even just poor day-to-day life spending. That can be really horrible on people's lives, like forever, right? Like, like our younger brother here, he could definitely use a finance course, like to help him out for all of life. But that being said, that's all dependent upon the system of...
Because we have a monetary system.
Exactly, yeah.
I just don't think it's proper to put a 13-year-old into, like, strictly finance school.
Yeah, learn about money so that when you grow up you can be an accountant.
Again, they're not even, like... Even though the options are limited to what's being presented to you in our high schools, they're still not being presented.
They're just limiting them even more.
Well, you could do this. You could be an accountant, or you could be an accountant.
Or a banker. Or accountant to a banker.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or maybe you could be a banker's lawyer. That'd be great.
Speaking back about your Occupy, let's go into, I guess, the journey to Occupy. That's where you started.
Yeah.
That was, how was that?
Well, I was supposed to go to California.
Okay.
For a couple months. And I ended up coming back to Halifax after leaving to go to California. I went to Toronto to visit some family and came back to Halifax for whatever reason. And was just hanging around for a couple more days. Went to go buy my flight. Didn't happen. And then I was staying at my friend Shirley's house. And my friend Ferry sent me a message on Facebook. And it had a video of Occupy Wall Street. And it only had been in its, like, 6th day, 7th day maybe. And we watched the video. It was a couple girls being maced, and a march that was happening, and it was also another video called "Nobody Can Predict the Moment of a Revolution," I think, and it was just a whole bunch of people. It was just a privately done video on YouTube. Just people telling their own story, why they were there, what was going on, why that the media wasn't covering it. Mm-hmm. I don't watch mainstream media anyways, so I wouldn't have seen it anyways. But us do here. Yeah, we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, we gotta go. Like, what are we doing sitting here? Like, let's go. Like, let's just go.
Did you leave right then? Or start getting ready?
Shirley quit her job. This was in the morning. We woke up and watched this video, and it was in the morning, probably around 10 o'clock or so. And then by 11 or 12, we were running around the city, getting ready, going and getting her backpack from a friend who she lent it to, and just, she was like, I don't know if this is even really happening or if I'm doing it, but we're just gonna go and get my stuff, and if I want to go, then we're gonna go. And I was like, all right. Let's do it, because you're going to want to go.
That's manifesting your destiny.
Yeah, and then the next day, around noon, our friend Sean drove us to the border of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and we hitchhiked the rest of the way from there to Montreal. Made it there the next day, the next evening.
Wow.
And stayed at our friend Kristen's house for the night, and then took the train out the next day. From Montreal. Montreal. And then we took a train there. It took about a day to get to New York, and we got there and we were about a block or two from Times Square, and we got out and the subway was being closed down. There was cops everywhere, and we were just like, oh my god, what's going on? We need to just get out and take a breather. We got out.
Culture shock, right away.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And we got out and we just stood on the street and put our bags down, and this woman came up to us, and she had previously been a tour guide around New York, and she was like, oh, have you gone to see Times Square yet? And we're just like, oh no, we just
got off the boat.
Just got off the boat. Just give us a second. And we were talking to her a bit and whatnot, and she just kept persisting that we go and see Times Square, we go and see it. And we just had to tell her that we were there for Occupy Wall Street, and couldn't do it, couldn't bring ourselves to do it.
How did she respond?
She was cool with it. She was gonna walk us there, walk us wherever we wanted to go, and we just kind of went off and walked down to Wall Street.
She's one of those people who just kind of hangs out trying to pick up jobs, and take you a few places and be like, okay, that'll be $50, and then drop you in the fucking Bronx somewhere. Or something.
It was funny because we weren't expecting anybody to talk to us at all. And she's like, the first thing she said, she's like, well, nobody else is probably going to talk to you, but I really hope you have a good day. It's like, cool, thanks. We appreciate it. And it was probably 8 or 9 at night that we got off the train, and we walked, I don't know, probably about 15 blocks to Wall Street. We were going to get on the subway, but we just couldn't do it. Couldn't bring ourselves to get back in that station, and it's just too crazy.
Why not the subway? What was wrong with that?
We were just on a train for 10 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We weren't ready to get on another train full of people with their backpacks and everything.
Isn't it weird, that feeling when you get off the train, that feeling of
going?
Of this?
Yeah.
When you get off, there's this
yeah.
Back and forth shake.
This forward shake.
Yeah.
You're just I'm standing perfectly still, but my mind is woo.
It's like a limbo feeling.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah. So we had to walk. And the first block that we got to, I have a picture of it. It's just Shirley standing on a corner, and the whole block down is just a pile of garbage bags, probably 3 feet tall. And that was our first sight of New York, and we were just oh my god, what are we getting into? Like, this place is crazy.
Now, was this like on garbage day? Did you see garbage like at various places?
I guess it was garbage day. It was probably garbage day, but it was a ridiculous amount of garbage. It was like 4 feet wide by 4 feet tall garbage bag going for like 50 feet at least.
Wow.
Must have been
A
garbage
wall
day.
of garbage.
It was really gross.
Think about all the people, though, that live on top of each other in these little beehives.
I know,
and,
it's
you know,
ridiculous.
definitely
And the amount of
produce that much
suitcases we saw in the garbage.
garbage. Really? Well, you know what?
Oh, the whole walk, it was just tons of suitcases, tons of
You
suitcases.
have no idea. I worked once at a luggage store, and there's some really good suitcases. If you want a good one, you're looking at $600 to $700, $800 for a suitcase that is not going to fall apart.
Yeah.
All these other ones,
They'll fall
basically,
apart.
they're a one-tripper. And
Yeah.
You're talking like $100 for a one-tripper.
Mm-hmm.
120, 1 or 2 trips, that's about it.
Yeah.
And there's machines at the airport now. There's actually this machine that you've seen the back of a trash compactor.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they do that to your luggage. So they're throwing luggage in.
Through a hole?
They throw your
Or
luggage
like-
in this little like hole, like in the bin.
Yeah.
And then they pull the lever and it goes, it squishes all together. Oh, we can throw some more in now. And they throw some more in. It
What?
compacts it. Oh, and the wheels are popping off and the handles are popping off because we also had a repair center in there.
Yeah.
Talk to people in the airport and everything, and that's how I learned about all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then
Disposable society.
oh yeah, and the guys are so underpaid there that they just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can tell them.
Yeah.
And they're just like throwing shit everywhere. And
So what you're saying is don't bring anything breakable when you fly.
don't bring anything
Yeah.
breakable. Don't put any liquids inside your actual suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, bring a bottle of booze or
Yeah.
something. And I mean, even your toothpaste or anything, put it in a Ziploc, something that's sealed so that if it does break, it's not going to leak out anywhere.
Yeah.
It really helps. Because it's 9 out of 10 people are getting their shit broken now.
Wow.
Mhm.
9 out of 10.
Okay, there's a guy who just works 40 hours a week doing suitcase repairs. That's just in Ottawa alone. He's just non-stop day after day. He's in
The
and out.
airlines must own the luggage companies or something.
You think so?
They very well could. Yeah, they very well
In
might.
cahoots, yeah.
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 Cahoots. That's I haven't said that in a while.
You know, it's strange because even before 9/11, airports just didn't care about you or your shit. But ever since then, it's I don't know. It's like they've used terrorism as a vehicle for
So like shut down.
yeah
I'm not doing that.
yeah to completely cut off emotionally, like cut the human aspect out of travel. Now,
Yeah.
like they literally treat you like a herd animal. It's really screwed up because you pay hundreds of dollars for this service. You know.
Yeah. That's to keep you safe.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, Joey Wallace. You guys can do shout outs all you want. Mom and Dad. My friend Joey worked at Toronto Airport. He lasted a week. And he said everybody is just so high strung and on edge, and it's all about watching each other, who's stealing and who's causing trouble about each other and the customers and everything, and everyone's a criminal and everyone's a terrorist, and everyone who's there hates their job and they hate their life, and they're only sticking it out for the good pension at the end.
Yeah.
A pension that's probably going to be cut in the end. And then
That's
they
all
told
we
him
get.
they were bringing in the piss testing for absolutely everyone. And he had nothing to do with any kind of... There's no reason for him to have a piss test done. And so that's kind of why... that's why he quit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, airports are crazy, man.
They are.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. I'm not looking forward
That
to
thing where
it.
they were like, okay, take off your hat. I was like, really? They're like, yeah. And I took off my hat. They're like, take off your shoes. And I was like, that's funny. They're like, sir, take off your shoes now. And I was like, what? You think something's in my shoes, man? Oh, I'm gonna put my shoes through the machine.
Yeah.
And no, I didn't know. I didn't know all that. I hadn't flown in a while.
Yeah.
And it weirded me out. And the whole sensation of flying. My ear popped, and it didn't unpop for 6 months. 6 months of a popped ear.
Oh my
It's
god.
just like equilibrium off, falling over all the time.
Yeah,
That's not good.
when I was 7, I flew, and I still remember it because it was insanely painful, and like I was just a little kid, so everybody takes it for granted, you know. Kid goes up in a plane, starts screaming or whatever, but like it was just such insane pressure on my ears, and it hurt so bad. And years later, I found out that both of my eardrums had been perforated by that. And like it actually broke my eardrums from the pressure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, it can be pretty crazy.
Did your eardrum heal again?
Yeah, it like especially small perforations they heal over, but they leave scars, and the doctor can tell.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Cray cray.
Cray.
You mentioned earlier at the Occupy, or actually before you went to the Occupy, you heard about like girls being maced and stuff like that. Did you see anything like that there?
Look at this guy.
I didn't visually see very much of that because I'm a Canadian citizen. If I were to get arrested at any of the marches or the rallies or anything, I would have been sent back to Canada. So me and Shirley did stay out of most of the rallies. After the first few, we realized that we could get arrested really easily. After the Brooklyn Bridge one, when we almost could have got arrested, we decided to just kind of take it easy and stay back at the camp when everybody went on their marches and just give support around there kind of thing. And people had to stay and watch all of the stuff there because if we would have left, we would have just been swept out by the cops.
Wow.
Or people would have came in and stolen stuff or, whatever. So we just stayed around and watched over people's stuff and whatnot. Yeah.
That's pretty much why I have to be pretty careful around here too, actually, because I'm a U.S. citizen and I don't have Canadian dual citizenship. So if I get arrested here, I can easily be deported back to the States.
You have a residency? Is that
I
how it
have
works?
permanent residency. That's correct.
Yeah.
Like what they used to call an alien.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Play the alien.
I am. It suits me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you had said that you guys were only going to go down there for 2 days. And how long did you end up staying?
We ended up staying for 2 months.
2 months.
Wow.
Sleeping in the rain.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I said,
it didn't really rain that much though.
On and off. We were kind of joking, kind of not joking about them controlling the weather on us.
You never know. You never know.
No, you never know. You never do know.
I've actually seen a lot of posts online and stuff about weather control experiments, and this is from like 10 years ago at least. Like they were experimenting putting chemicals into the air to create clouds that would cause rain. And I've actually heard recently that they have successfully done that. They have created rain over like desert areas that don't have any nearby water sources. So I mean, the fact that they can create even a small amount of rain, like that means the technology is out there, and who knows what the government has at this point.
Yeah. You know, they couldn't have they had to watch what they were doing with their force with police, and they couldn't have just came in and ripped us out of there right away. So they had to, be clever. And I have no... They could have not done it, but I kind of just want to keep thinking that they did.
In that rain machine, guys. They're actually standing up on the roof with hoses.
Yeah.
Spraying everybody. They think it's a machine.
Yeah, but there was some pretty bad rainstorms, and we left just after the first big snowstorm that we had.
Oh, right. I forget that they have kind of the same weather.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Pretty bad of a storm. I had gotten to the kitchen the morning after, and there was just bread everywhere and food everywhere. They had to close up when they were feeding the night before because it was just everything was getting ripped around. So it definitely did put us in some rough spots.
I mean, you guys
for
had
rain and
tents,
weather and
right?
stuff. No, we didn't have any tents
No
until
tents at all?
till the last couple weeks we were there.
Wow. So what did you do? What was happening?
We were mostly just collecting cardboard and yoga mats, and eventually we went and collected a queen-size mattress out of the garbage.
Now, did you use that for shelter, or did you actually sleep on it?
We slept on it.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it kept us dry, kept us up off the ground. It was already covered in plastic, so we just put a tarp under it and wrapped it up around the mattress. And they weren't letting us. The cops weren't letting us allow us to have anything to hold up our tarps. So we basically just had to lay them over top of us.
Like a sleeping bag.
Like a sleeping bag, or which didn't really do a whole lot entirely. And sometimes it would almost be like suffocating. I was going around doing just kind of like mental health and like physical health, and just making sure everybody was okay, and we would have to stay awake in the nights, and that it was raining, and go around and make sure that nobody was suffocating. And because people had to put plastic over them, or like have their sleeping bag and put plastic over that, and then put plastic over their face, and you can't have anything to hold it up, but you don't want to be soaking wet, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of scary, you know, sometimes, and just the stuff that they were almost forcing us to do to stay dry because they didn't want us there, you know.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to have our voice.
If you just put up something, there's like rip it down and
even
off
if
of you, right?
we started slowly building up some stuff. A friend of mine had this collapsible structure with umbrellas and everything, so that it just looked like bags, and it was just looked like it was just tarps covering bags and whatnot.
But secretly,
there was people sleeping under there. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And I had one friend who was doing kind of like peacekeeping, security, whatnot, whatever you want to call it. And he would go around with, whenever the cops would come in, he would go around with them. And instead of the cops going and banging down everything and saying, hey, you got to take this down, whatever, he would just go in and say, like, hey, the cops are around. They want you to take it down, you know, kind of just take it down for now. We'll put it back up later. And that really, like, he really de-escalated a lot doing that, which was really good. But eventually, by I don't even know how many days we were in. It's probably about 2 weeks before we left. We had a medical tent up. We had moved the medical station, made a bigger area for it. We were getting a lot larger, too big for the space that we were in. And we got a big, like, 10-person tent up for the medical center so that we could at least have people dry in there. It was going to get cold, starting to get a lot colder. And there was a jerk of a night officer that came around every night. And he came in. We had it up for the second day. They didn't bother us the first day with it. Second day, they came in and told us we had to take it down, and we weren't allowed to have it up, and blah, blah, blah. And they were going to come in and start tearing it down. And Jesse Jackson, who's a well-known civil rights leader, he came in, and I don't know what he did. I couldn't see from where I was at, but my shelter was right in front of the medical tent on the other side of it. I was just about to go to bed even, and there's a whole bunch of yelling and whatnot. I come out, and there's just all these cameras around, and he's trying to, like, negotiate with the cops, and eventually they just kind of, like, walked away and left it there.
Wow.
And then after that, we just kind of...
He's the one who got OJ free, right?
I'm not entirely
Is that
sure.
the same Jesse Jackson?
There's probably... I don't know. He's a lawyer?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a lawyer. He's a pastor?
That sounds like the same one.
Or some sort of, like, religious... I don't...
Look up.
I don't know.
Well,
I
I'll
don't
look it
really
up
know
later.
entirely who
I'll
he
look it up
is.
later.
Yeah.
As not to derail the conversation.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
no
were allowed
problem.
to leave some structures up.
We were allowed to leave that structure up. And then after that, people eventually... Before this, people were building, like, structures with, like, plywood and tarps on top and whatever they could build, they were building. I had a friend who had this giant box with a tarp over it and under it so that it was all waterproofed, and anything that anybody could build, we were trying to build it. And eventually people just started putting tents up more and more and more and more and more. And eventually the whole square was filled with tents, and they were, like, overlapping each other, and there was no pathways anywhere. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
How long was this though before people started like really putting their tents up en masse?
It was...
I think you said you were there for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was like, I was there for 2 months, and it was like 2 weeks before I left. 2.5 weeks before I left that they just started putting tents up.
It's a long time to be roughing it.
Yeah.
It was a really long time to be roughing it, especially in the middle of the city when you wake up and it's just like, whoa, there's people walking to work around me, and there's cameras, and there's, oh my god, whoa, go back to bed.
How did everybody, like, eat and stay alive and everything? How did everyone have, like, sustenance, I guess?
I was part of the kitchen. I joined the kitchen about my second week there, once I realized that I was really kind of there for the long haul. I joined in with the kitchen, and we were getting donations from all over the world. Literally all over the world. There was a pizza place that was at the end of the corner, or end of the square, that was... Basically, people would just call in and order us pizza with their credit card and send it to Occupy Wall Street. And
Wow.
this one man who just kept coming to us like 3 or 4 times a day at the beginning. By the end of it, we were getting them like deliveries like 10 times a day from this pizza place.
Amazing.
And they eventually made the Occu Pizza or something. I don't know what they called it, but they have an Occupy Pizza now. And they were just making
pizza.
Yeah, and they were making like vegan pizzas for us, and yeah, they were really awesome. We got stuff sent to us like from Amazon. Like people would just go send like boxes of stuff, and then eventually, once we got into it, we were contacting farms from upstate New York, from Maine, New Hampshire, all around. And seeing what we could do, because we were getting so many monetary donations as well. We wanted to help support local farms, and rather than, have people send in shit from boxes and whatnot.
So what you're saying is even though you didn't know the area, you're not from there, and it's not your local place, you were still able to go and put this revenue into the local system and make a local sustainability just from camping out in the bare elements and with no other real contacts or anything.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people from all over the world are reaching out who want to help, who can't go down there, just hop on a plane and go down and do that. So they're like, well, let's send these people some food.
Yeah.
And just calling up and giving
By the end of it, we had like a whole storage room. We had the Teachers Association, I think it was, donate us like a room in their like headquarters or something. It was down near Wall Street. They had a huge space donated for us. We had clothes and food and books, and we had a whole library there. So much stuff donated. It was ridiculous. In a good way.
That's really good, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really good.
It was really amazing to see, and like just the amount of people, like the older generation who, like, when I was in the kitchen, we had like a receiving area, and people would just come and drop off stuff all day. The older generation really, really, really was thanking us continuously. Like 40, 50, 60, like that age range was just, shit, I messed up. Like, like they're just starting to realize, like, I messed up, man. Like, and these kids are helping me out, like they're really like saving my ass. Yeah. And, those were the people who couldn't really be there because they had to be at their job, but were so appreciative of what we were doing. And even though there wasn't a million people in that square, there was thousands of people in that square almost every day by the end of it. And like millions of people watching our live streams, and it was absolutely incredible to be a part of.
Do you feel like it kind of maybe restored some of your faith in humanity, or if you hadn't really lost faith, do you think it bolstered your faith in humanity?
Yes and no. I definitely went like up and down. It's always like a wave of wow, this is really amazing, but also like, wow, our world is fucked.
So much opposition.
Yeah, you know, it's almost like you can get like activist burnout very easily. And, you know, it can get really tiring and it takes a lot out of you. You know, by the second week I was ready to go home, but I didn't. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of ups and downs and building and learning and growing and even just like learning new perspectives. I learned a lot about American politics that I never really knew before. And you know, just why things are the way they are, and a lot of new understanding, which turns into a lot of like confusion as well.
Mm-hmm. Anything in particular that really stands out? Like that you learned, or any new enlightenment that you gained while there that you think kind of stands above the rest?
I really learned how messed up the American system it really is. Especially like their justice system.
Oh yeah.
Is just absolutely through the wall. I could not even fathom it.
The thing is that every time someone gets arrested, they're no longer eligible for so many things.
No.
Yeah. And I remember people
they take away so many of the rights.
For like, I remember the Occupy Nova Scotia thing, and I know it's not in the same league as the Occupy New York was, but I remember people around here running around going, we have to get arrested and we have to show them and we have to all be taken down to be murdered and everything like that. And it's like, you know what, you're not doing any good, you're just knocking yourself out of you know, your future basically, and able to do anything within, if you wanted to operate within that system anyways, and try and change it.
Or even without, like, outside of that system.
Try and get a job.
You can still have the hold on you,
record,
you know, going over the border and, you know, whatever you want to do.
There is a big misconception though, that people believe that with records and things you can't go anywhere. But I mean, there are tons of countries you can still go to. There's tons of places you can still fly to.
But if you have a criminal record, if you have a criminal offense, you're not allowed to leave Canada under Canada's jurisdiction.
You're not allowed to leave Canada?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there's other places.
If you have a
there's
criminal...
some more deviant places that you can go to. You can go to Thailand and things like that.
Deviant places.
They don't really care. They're like,
but it definitely limits you in ways.
Yeah, it definitely limits you.
Yeah. And I did have that dilemma as well, being we came back to Nova Scotia to be a part of Occupy Nova Scotia and help out our friends who were involved in it and whatnot, and coming back here, and I wasn't even down at Parade Square when the eviction started. Me and Shirley were going to go to, we were taking a couple days off from the occupation, and we're going to go and, you know, take a rest and regenerate. And we had went back because she had forgotten a book there in the medical center, and we walk into a standoff between Occupy Nova Scotia and Halifax Police. And we're just like, oh my God, what is going on here?
Wow. And
I went through the dilemma of, like, you know, trying to figure out, like, is it worth it for me to be arrested for this? And it was totally, like, you know, worth it for me to be arrested for it, but would I make better change in the criminal system, or would I make it better change out of the criminal system, you know? Like,
right.
I really had to, like, weigh out my options and, you know, figure that out.
Sometimes you can do more good.
Yeah.
For everybody as a whole.
I do enough in my everyday life, with the people who I surround myself with, I feel personally, than than ending up in jail just to make a point, or you know, whatever.
Make a point in one newspaper of one day.
Yeah,
That's going to be forgotten in like a couple weeks.
The next
It's
day,
already
in a lot
forgotten
of
by
cases.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But the New York, being in New York and understanding, like, the jurisdiction system from their perspective and their point of view, I met a friend who was probably, like, between 20 and 25 years old, who was arrested for being drunk and roughing with the police officer because he, when he was getting arrested, he was kind of going to the drunk tank and was belligerent and whatever, like shoved a cop or whatever he did. And now is on probation for a couple years. He can't vote, I believe.
Can't vote.
I can't remember if it was him or if it's... I have another friend who can't vote because of his charges. They took that right away from him.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting. And also, he had a job as a garbage man in New York and was being paid about half as much than he would have been paid if he didn't have a record.
Because they know they can afford to just cut him out any time. There's not a lot of other jobs you could possibly get.
But being on probation and being on what's that called? Maybe it's just probation. He has to have a job. So basically they're just putting them in a cycle of, okay, we're going to charge you and we're going to make you have a job. But we're going to make it so that you're being paid half as much as somebody else who doesn't have a criminal record. Right. So they're just putting them in this cycle of like, I'm not good enough because I can't make enough money because I fucked up once. And
I can never write that again. I might as well go do some more crime shit.
Yeah, I might as well just go and steal more shit or sell more drugs because I can't make enough money to live.
And a lot of these laws come from the fact that there's privatized prisons. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Just that's the primary problem with the justice system. It's like, it's not even just the privatized prisons, though. It's the concept behind privatized prisons, which is that you can make money off of crime.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah. You've got police essentially making money off of crime because, I mean, obviously it's their job. They get paid to go and bust the criminals. But they also have quotas. They have particular quotas that they have to meet of different types of crimes that they have to, make arrests for, and so many tickets that they have to give out. A ticket is just a way to give the city money. So, I mean, you've got that level of making money off of crime. You've got the really corrupt, like the higher positions of power, making money off of crime through kickbacks and through actual criminals paying them, whether by choice or through blackmail. And then you've got this aspect of crime where the prison systems themselves are designed to make money.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got a private system, if you've got a private prison, that means that somebody is choosing to invest their money in this system. Now, why would anybody do that? Why would somebody choose to invest their money into a prison? Prisoners cost money. We know that because taxpayers pay for it, right? So what is it about these prisons that gives them any draw whatsoever that would cause somebody to invest in them?
Probably the way that you would buy stocks and shares in a company. You get a return on those. You get a percentage of returns if you invest wisely.
Exactly. They're making some serious money because if they weren't, there would not be private prisons. And whatever system they're using to make money could probably be better used by the government to make back money that the cost payers have paid into it to give back to the taxpayers. Did I say cost payers?
I don't understand how does a prison generate revenue? Because I mean, all you're doing is taking someone, putting them in a room, clothing and feeding them. How does that make anybody any money? That's
because they charge them?
But who are they charging?
Prisoners get charged for special services, but they also perform services for, like, to make the prison money. Right. For example, like, they've got those huge laundry rooms, right, to take care of the prisoners' laundry. But who's to say they couldn't do, like, outside laundry and make money on that? Plus, you've got ditch diggers. They're making money off of that. In the old days, they would bust the stones, right? Like, to be put into whatever. They made money on that even back then. So, I mean, there are definitely a lot of ways that you can use prisoners to make money. My question wasn't so much, like, to find out genuinely, how could I make money? But my question was to point out, like, why would somebody invest? And it's to make money. It's to make money off of crime and off of prisoners and off of taxpayers who are paying into this system that, it's not necessary to pay so much for. And because somebody's making money on it, like they're making money on the off of the prisoners, they want to put more people in prison. You know, and not only do you make money off of them this way, but you also control them better. There are lots of stories about, you know, like where our society is headed and how tyrannical and oppressed it can really get. You've got, you know, George Orwell's 1984 and A Brave New World, and I mean Fahrenheit 451. They really outline pretty clearly where we're going, and it's been coming true slowly, you know, a piece at a time. And I've heard a theory about how without getting into too much detail, the 1%, you know, what they want is to have approximately 1/3 of the world in prison, another third of the world either taking care of those prisoners or being perfect little sheep, obeying every law, not ever straying from exactly what the government wants, and the other third basically, you know, making the rules and
controlling.
Yeah, running shit. But think about those numbers, and it's like, okay, 1/3 of the people making the rules. How many people are we talking about? So they want to bring more people into the government, right?
That's more than the 1% that exists.
No, they don't want to bring more people into the government. They want to have about the same number that they have now. They just want to have far fewer people. You know, that way 1/3 isn't such an unreasonably huge number.
Yeah. And that's why they don't care about just arresting everybody, and then they don't care about the rights of everyone who's standing up for themselves. They're just like, you know what? To them, they wouldn't mind just coming in with a bulldozer and just mowing over everybody. You know, just squish, squish, squish. There we go. There, that problem's over with. Yeah. Now we're all the good little worker bees.
Who can make us some money?
These ones haven't defected.
Yeah.
What were you saying about the people getting arrested? The funneling on the bridge. You should tell us that story. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah. We had one of our first largest march was on the Brooklyn Bridge, and that
so
was
it wasn't
first...
all just staying in the one little square the whole time.
No, we definitely had marches, and yeah. The Brooklyn Bridge March was an unmarked march, so there was only a certain amount of people who knew our actual route we were going on. And this was the time when we were kind of like spreading the movement from Manhattan to Brooklyn. And we started out, we were all obeying their laws that they wanted us to obey, and we were all staying on the sidewalks and, you know, following the paths and whatnot. We were all just doing what we were supposed to do. Cooperating 100%. And I think this was the march where we're starting to get the support of different unions, and, you know, we're starting to get the support of a lot of the larger public. And so we started our march out, we were all good, and eventually we get to the bridge, and people start walking onto the bridge. It's the Brooklyn Bridge. There's a, into Brooklyn, into Manhattan, 2 different lanes, and then in the center there's a walking bridge that goes up and over. And we had started to go onto the bridge, and they were going onto a different way. So they were completely separated from our group for like about 15 minutes. They didn't have any control over what was happening with us at all. So they kind of, you know, freaked out for a little bit, and then eventually they got back over to us right before we got to the bridge. And they were starting to, like, they had a guy on a bullhorn, you know, saying, like, stay on to the walking side of the bridge and blah, 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 blah. And then eventually there was people, you know, walking onto the bridge, and they had some other people who had, or the other police officers who had the orange fences. They have, like, orange mesh fences that they kind of funnel people with, and they were funneling people onto the driving side of the bridge. They weren't walking it off or anything, or, you know,
cars are coming and
they're just
going out there,
you know, like walking people out onto the bridge, and the people behind the first group of, 20 people at the front of the group or whatever don't have any idea what's going on ahead of them because there's too many people and too much noise and whatnot. So they just keep following them on. And that day there was about 700 people arrested on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Just for being in the wrong spot of the bridge.
Being in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Now that sounds like entrapment at its
Sounds an awful
greatest.
lot like
Oh yeah, most definitely. And the reason they had the officer on the bullhorn was so that they could have it on tape and have it on record that they were saying like, oh, like stay on the walking bridge, whatever. But they wanted to arrest us to intimidate us as well,
Yeah.
So I was me and Shirley were on the top of the bridge, thank goodness. We were just like, uh-oh, what's going on? And we looked over, and it's just, they're coming in, they have them trapped here on the one side of the bridge, and they're walking up this way, and they're walking up again with another row of cops walking up behind them with another fence barricading them in, kenneling them in. And then next thing you know, there's 4 or 5 buses come up and take everybody away because they don't have enough paddy wagons to take everybody away.
So they just call in some city buses, pick people up. Here
Yeah, and after that,
all these criminals out of here.
After that, the city refused to help them out.
Help out who?
The police.
Police, really?
They told them that they wouldn't transport anybody like that again.
Wow.
So they had to order their own buses.
You said around 700 arrests?
700 arrests, I believe.
How do you do that? Is it like a mass arrest? Like, all of you people stand here, you're all under arrest?
Here are your rights.
Well,
your rights are
they
nothing.
kennel you in.
Yeah.
And then you can't go anywhere. And they basically just, a police officer goes in, picks one out, cuffs them up with they have like zip tie cuffs.
Yep.
Throws you in the back of the paddy wagon.
Drive you away.
And that day they arrested a 8-year-old child as well.
Wow.
8 years old.
Something like that. 8 or 7 or... I don't know. It's all blurred out.
And they're going to
even if
a
the kid was,
child,
10,
under 10
who
years
cares?
old.
they're going to blame the parents too. Parents ruined this kid's life. They brought him there, gave him this record.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous.
I can't imagine that they gave everyone due process. And
no, they basically I had a couple of friends that were like, the police officer who was processing me didn't even know what to charge me with.
Yeah.
Because they weren't doing anything wrong.
They probably didn't even know
what am I supposed to charge you with? It's silly.
Okay, so you were walking on the bridge between Manhattan and Brooklyn with at least 700 other people.
There was thousands of people.
Thousands of people. Okay.
Yeah, a couple thousand people.
How many of these thousands of people do you think were in your were in the group that you were with, marching, were a part of Occupy?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
So there was nobody on the bridge who was just a random
there was
walker.
definitely people on the bridge, but not very many. Just people biking across the bridge. Or...
Do you think that anybody who was not a part of Occupy got arrested that day?
No, because only people who got arrested were on the driving part of the bridge.
Oh, okay.
Because they had been funneled off.
Because they had been funneled and
deliberately funneled into
the
the driving part of the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be something worse than entrapment, because entrapment is when you entice someone to do something, that by way of causing them to want to do it, right? This is not even that. They forced these people
into an illegal situation.
Yeah, into an illegal situation.
You go over here. Oh, you're under arrest.
Yeah, pretty much.
I wonder how many of those cops got arrested. I can take a guess.
None.
Yeah, that's what I would guess.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of those cops were even held remotely accountable. I wonder how many of them even got a slap on the wrist.
I want to know what happened to Mr. Baloney.
Who's Mr. Baloney?
Officer Baloney.
That's his real name?
Yeah.
Was it Bologna?
Bologna. Officer Bologna.
Wow.
He was the one who first was doing the macing and pepper spraying.
Wow, right out of a cheesy novel.
Yeah. Mr. Baloney. Officer Baloney.
You think they chose him purposely?
Yeah, almost.
Go out there
Probably
and
the
give
guy
him
that
the baloney.
they all made fun of the whole time in cadet school and everything.
Yeah.
Like, shh, make
Call me
baloney, make
baloney.
baloney do it.
Yeah.
We give a fuck about him anyways. Let's put his face out there.
Yeah.
For people.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of bad rap to give the cops. Did you meet any actually good cops there? Did you meet any that gave you any hope?
No,
Not
none
one.
at all. To be honest, there was one. I don't remember what I was. I think I was sweeping. I was sweeping the square, and there was like barricades. They have like metal barricades that are kind of like they use for concerts and whatnot, and barricading whatever. And there was an officer who just kind of like came up to me. I think I was maybe dressed up. I was maybe wearing costume or something. I don't know, having a time. And he's like, "Can I ask why you guys are here?" And I just kind of looked at him and I was like, "Are you serious? Like, I was genuinely asking, like, are you really asking that question?" And he's just like, "Yeah, like, I don't have any idea. Like, what are you guys here for? Like, what's the purpose of this?" And I was like, almost didn't want to answer him. But, had to, like, explain, like, fully what we were doing there. And, like, he didn't even know what he was
watching.
What he was
watching for, or like patrolling
against.
Or like whatever he's doing. Had no idea what was even going on in the world, let alone what he was patrolling. So it really gave me no hope for police officers, especially in New York. And I know that it's a much more of a police state in New York than here. Halifax officers have given me more hope than the state's officers, for sure. But they really have given themselves a bad rap. Yeah.
I'd like to know how many officers have quit in the
I would like to as well, yeah.
Kind of stuff going on. How many people have just said, like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Turn in my shit. I don't care. I'll find something else to do in life.
I'll be an assassin.
I'll be a hired assassin.
Yeah. I don't know. Apparently, I heard that there was a police officer. It was after we left, but there was a police officer there who was participating fully in Occupy Wall Street.
Wow.
And even there, like, at the rallies, when the cops were, pushing them back, he was saying, like, I stepped down, I was a police officer, like, how could you be doing this kind of thing, like, realize what you're doing right now, you don't have to do this. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of like a perfect segue to what I was getting at, too, which is, the cops, they're just people, they're just
100%,
regular people. And a lot of times, unfortunately, that means they're just sheep people.
Yeah.
They're being led, they're being misled, they're being illusioned just like everybody else. So a lot of times that's why they do it. They can't see, like, all of the corruption that's guiding everything that they do. They're just, another pawn in the big chessboard. And when you're that little pawn, from that little perspective, always facing forward, somebody else using their hand to move you around, you don't know what's going on. You don't know if you're going to be used until your destruction. You don't know if you're going to somehow take the queen. But you can be assured that whatever it is you're going to do, it's because somebody else wants you to do it.
Yeah.
And, the cops, they just can't always see that.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate more because a lot of the ones who do see how they're being used just become bitter and corrupted more by it. They become jaded. It's like, well, if I'm just going to be used, then I'm going to get my way and do what I want. And take this money that they don't know about and steal the drugs off this kid so I can go use them later and then bust him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
all the things that I would do as a cop.
There are... Yeah.
I would actually not bust everyone. I would just take the shit. You got empty pockets?
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't bust you, so
do like the
more later.
tie handcuff thing, throw them in that pile of garbage, and then drive away. And they're like, Oh man, oh, I'm so fucked. And they're like laying there, fuck. The fuck? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Hey man, I want my shit back.
Yeah, but now I'm gonna try to win some popularity contests here and say I think that like we really should be trying our best to get along with the cops. You know, like I think that
I think they're the ones that we need to convince.
Yeah.
To be less the guard of the corporation.
And more the guard of the people.
More the guard of the people, like they say that they are.
Yeah.
Because that's all they are is the king's guard right now.
And the only way to build like that sort of relationship with them is to have positive interactions with them on a regular basis. You know, like go out of your way to be kind to them when, like, for no reason other than the fact that they're a cop. You know.
Yeah.
And it can't just be when you're like doing something like occupying. It's like it's got to be. They've got to feel that it's genuine. You know. Yeah. Like you have no ulterior motive. You're just there to let them know.
It's hard
you
when you feel
them.
that they have an ulterior motive, though.
Yeah,
and when I don't know, I feel that there should be a lot of support for police officers who want to leave the police force but can't because it's their life. You know, it's a livelihood.
It's their only way. It's the only thing they know.
Yeah, you know, and it's like how they make their money and like, you know, whatever. So I think that there should be some like, you know, support for those people.
Definitely.
But I also don't have any sympathy for them. At all.
I can understand that, yeah.
You know, my grandfather is a police officer, doing surveillance for, you know, whatever, 40 years, 50 years, I don't even know how long, but, you know, I can see how that can also like mess somebody up being in that situation for 40 years of your life or whatever it is, you know.
I have not had one positive police officer interaction in my entire life.
No, me neither.
Not
and it's
one.
all intimidation.
Yeah.
And
I've had them just walk right in my house.
Power trips.
I've had them just like no warrants, just not even busting down doors, just like open the door, walk right in. What's going on in here? Had that happen. I've actually called police for help before, where they come and they're just like, it's a civil dispute, call a lawyer, and walked away.
Yeah.
I've had...
Blows my mind.
It just doesn't...
I've been illegally searched and then processed after having been illegally searched because coincidentally I had something on me, but really I had showed up at an unrelated event, you know, after the fact, after it had passed, and they decided to search everybody who was there, and because I showed up after the police arrived, I showed up, and they still searched me along with everybody else, and it just so happened I had something on me. So they processed me, I got a record, but I was supposed to get a diversion, and this is how, you know, the Canadian system is just as corrupt as the U.S. system. I go through the adult diversion program, which basically means I had no previous record, you know, I'm an upstanding citizen, quote unquote, and, you know, I was cooperative and all this other crap, so it's like, instead of being put through the system and getting a permanent criminal record, you plead guilty, get a diversion, and it's not supposed to be on your record. Well, as it turns out, it still goes on your record, because even non-security related organizations have the ability to find like those charges on your record, the one that doesn't exist, supposedly. So it's a really corrupt system. Like
even stricken from the record just means that there's a line put through it. You know, it's never really gone. It's just like like a dash.
Does not apply. Or like
it's like my credit report.
It's so corrupt how people can use that against you. Like why? If you're applying for a job like in the food industry or something, like why do they need to see whether or not you've ever had any like money related charges aside from theft? I mean, theft is pretty obvious, or like they probably want to know you're not going to do anything violent. But aside from that,
again, it comes down to what you were saying earlier about, you know, get all the riffraff out, people who just don't operate the broken machines, because that's what we are. We're the machines, and we're the little machines that make it work. And you know, when a machine breaks down, it's like you either fix it or you throw it out. And they've kind of come to this point of like, let's just throw it out.
Yep.
You know, there's enough other machines coming in here that get rid of them.
Exactly what Kayla was saying earlier, replaceable society, or how did you put it, a disposable society.
Yeah, disposable society.
Yes. Disposable, and there's another word for that when things are made to break.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? There's a term for that. Anyways, it's when the way computers are made, they're designed, and the way that they know that...
Then to buy more.
Yeah, they know when a car tire, it only has 500 million rotations before it's going to fall off. And they're like, let's bring that down a little bit, you know.
Make it a little bit thinner.
Let's bring that down a few less rotations, a few thousand less rotations.
There are so many factors, like so many points of knowledge throughout your life that might cause you to what we have come to term awaken.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, there's so many little things throughout life that cause this, and it's when you get somebody, who wants to know more, who's like closed off, who's not awakened, or a sleeper, or a sheep, they ask you, well, what is it that you know so much? Like, what can you tell me then to bring me up to your level? And it's like, well, first of all, it's not really even so much a bringing up process. It's just
even a
waking
level.
up. Yeah, exactly. It's becoming aware, but it's through so many subtle factors throughout life, and all of this tons of information that's readily available on the internet or in the media and stuff. But the reason I bring it up is because one of the first things that I can recall that started waking me up was the movie Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most people have seen Fight Club by now, but I just remember, and this directly relates to what you were saying about like the car tires, and just thin those down a little bit, and made me think of this. In Fight Club, they talk about how a major car company that the main character worked for would do these assessments, and if a model was faulty, so not just a single unit, but if an entire line of cars had some defect in it, and that defect would cause fatal accidents, what they would do is determine how much money the lawsuits and everything related to those fatal accidents would cost them, compared to how much money it would cost them to do a total recall. And if the amount of money it would cost to do the recall was more than the amount of money associated with the fatal accidents, they simply wouldn't do it. And that's a true process. I know that's a true process. I work in business, and I've seen exactly, the charts that diagram follows. It's like that process follows. It's actually a drawn out, diagram. It's like, okay, well, take these inputs and weigh them versus these outputs, and then you make a decision based on that. And I can't believe how devalued human life has become.
There's too many of them out there. Get rid of them.
Yeah. Disposable society, disposable people.
I just remembered the name of it while you were saying that. Planned obsolescence is the actual industry term that's used in places. And it was even on that show Dragon's Den kind of thing, one of those kind of shows.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me, yeah.
And now this guy had made this product that was going to revolutionize the wheel, basically. Not the wheel itself, but it was going to make it so that these things would stop. And they were like, we like your product, but like it's a little too perfect. Like you need to throw in some wrenches here in the system, into the gears.
It's gonna last too long. Where's your repeat business?
Yeah, how are we gonna make any repeat?
How are you gonna make money off of it?
And also, we need more moving parts on it. We need extra stuff put in place for no goddamn reason at all, other than to make more parts that are gonna break down eventually. To add to the planned obsolescence of it, to like make it less structurally sound.
Increase
and then the guy
profit.
actually. This is an interesting one because I should find out what it was, because the guy actually was like, fine, fuck you, I'm out. And he left and actually went ahead and made it and has sold tons and tons and tons of them. Enough for him and his family to live very comfortably for the rest of their life. Whereas these other guys were just like, greed, more. And that's all they're thinking. And he's just kind of thinking like, well, I just want to make enough for me.
Yeah.
And just to get by.
Yeah.
And again, that kind of goes back to those societies.
So, what exactly did you tell the officer who was asking you about, why you're there?
I just basically told him like there's so many different reasons why people were there. So I basically just explained to him, like, I suppose not goal, but like the message that we were trying to send out.
Mm-hmm.
And also just brought up the issues of like student loans, and there's a lot of students there who were, you know, like wanting their debts forgiven, and there's just so many different reasons, and I just kind of like named them off and like asked him, like, you know, do any of these things affect you? And he just kind of like ignored me, kind of like, you know, shrugged me off kind of thing. And actually like laughed at me when I told him that I lived in the woods. And like, oh, well, what do you live off of? Like, dirt? Like, have you never like heard of anybody like not living in a city? You know, like, just completely so unaware.
Not. There's so many people who are just like, their head down, they don't want to look around, they got their blinders on, and they're just go through life like this. If I could only just get home, I could watch my TV shows.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then they get home, and then they're just like, oh, if I could just watch this show, and have all my kids and family and wife and everybody just shut the fuck up. I'm just going to watch this show. And like, they tune their head off. And it just feeds into them. And then next day get up like, okay, I just got to get through this day. Then I get home and watch TV and eat some good food.
Yeah.
And that's life for
Yeah.
them. And that's all they want. Because that's all that the TV's telling them that they want.
Yeah.
I know a major problem that a lot of people have with the Occupy movement is that they feel that nobody within Occupy really knows, like, anything about what they're protesting or what direction they're going in or anything like that. But I mean, even if the issue was only, say it was just student loans and how the students have been completely screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone would be a good enough reason to protest. That alone would be a good enough reason to come out and say, no, you know, this is bullshit. We don't have to take on these loans that you know we're never going to be able to pay back, or that you deliberately...
adding a whole bunch of interest on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they give us way too much. I mean, holy shit.
And to students, you know, like to young people.
There's just a number.
Yeah.
And they're like, here, like, my course, and it was a cheap course, it was like $2,400.
Yeah.
And what did they give you, like $12,000?
My course was $3,000 and they gave me $10,000.
$10,000 for what?
So that they
for
could
1
make
year.
more
interest.
interest.
Oh, I know, for a year, but why do you need that much for a year?
No, exactly. It's ridiculous. Absolutely
and I mean,
ridiculous.
when you're young, too, you're just like,
I've
got $10,000 in my pocket, and it's gone. You know? And
that's why I was saying the financial high school was actually kind of a good idea, but only because of this type of society, right? Yeah.
But when you look at, like, Europe and places where they've had free university for God knows how long, and I mean, the quality of life over there, and everything's just more enriched lives. They don't have this debt hanging over them from day one. And they're able to just kind of, again, those passion centers, you just kind of go and be like, well, what would you like to do? Oh, I don't know. Might want to try this, might want to try that. Doesn't really fucking matter, does it? No, it doesn't. Cool. Let's go.
The thing is that they, from, like, I was 17 when I went to college. And 17 years old, I went to school for photography and ended up being a scam anyways. But, like, 17 years old, okay, I don't have money. I'm supposed to be going to college or university or doing something with my life. Oh, shit, what do I do? Okay, I'm going to school for photography. I'm going to figure this out. Okay, now I have to get a student loan. Okay, my course is only $3,000. I'll be okay. Okay, here's $10,000. What the hell am I going to do with it? Okay, I'm going to buy some shit.
Yeah.
Cool. And then they have you locked in to having a job for the next however many years it takes you to pay off that. And that was only 1 year. Imagine, like, people who, you know, have, like, $60,000 in debt from school.
For a 4-year course.
Yeah, forced to work and be in the society, and that's how they do it. Because it just puts you in a cycle of having to work within the system and not being able to work without
immediate debt. And you know what's the funny thing? I graduated my course in 2003 and I have not paid any money back.
No, I am not paying any money back.
I'm not going to.
No.
I mean, they kind of hunt me down. They hunted me down once. And I happen to have been on unemployment, and that's how they'll find you.
Yeah.
If you get unemployment insurance or you file your taxes or something, they'll start sending you letters and calling you all the time.
Yeah.
And so they actually called me up and said, we realized you're getting unemployment. You're going to pay us at least the interest every month, or we're going to take half of your unemployment.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you can't take half my unemployment. I'm like, and I explained my bills. I said, well, this is my rent, and this is how much all my shit costs.
Yeah.
Actually, unemployment's not even covering it. I'm borrowing money from my family to kind of cover the bills until I can find a job, okay? And they're like, we don't care. We're taking at least the interest, or we're taking half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they had sent a letter in the mail saying this, so then there's a phone number, so then you end up calling them right away, and you're just like, what the fuck's this? We're talking about take half. All right.
They can't find me anymore. At least right now.
Here's the funny thing. I called the other day, and now there's 2 loans. You get a federal loan, and you get a provincial loan. The federal loan, after it's been defaulted, it's now handled by Revenue Canada. So there's absolutely no way to hide from them. They've got your social insurance number, they know where you work, they know where you live, they get you all the time.
That's provincial, I think.
And I had the provincial as well. They come coupled. So the thing is that when you take out a Canada student loan, a little bit comes from federal, and a lot comes from federal, and a little less comes from provincial. Yeah. They've been hounding me for this federal money now since 2003. And I asked her the other day, I was like, now there's a provincial loan too, isn't there? She goes, yes. And I said, do you have the information on that? She goes, no, you'll have to call your province. And I'm like, well, they haven't contacted me or anything, and you guys are hounding me all the time. She's like, it's a whole other hand. These 2 hands don't talk to each other. So you'll have to figure it out yourself. And I'm saying, so you're telling me that I have a whole other giant loan on top of this one. And she's going, oh yeah. I was like, great. Great.
Yeah, really.
You know, right when I thought that the mass amount that I owe already, because I didn't just take that $10,000 loan. When I figured out that I could do this, after college, I went and got enrolled into another program and got the first installment of my loan and said, thank you. And then I quit school. Thanks, guys. And then I bought recording equipment, paid my rent for a few months, and a bunch of food.
Fuck, I should do that.
Yeah, and you know,
I'm already dead.
Yeah, what's the difference? That's what I said. And also, I read this book once. It was called Live Rich and Die Broke. And the whole point of this book was basically to kind of work and keep your credit in check and everything. And the point was that by the time it's time to die, to owe as much goddamn money as possible, but have lived a really rich life, just with this massive debt hanging over your head.
Yeah, and not caring about it.
After that book has come out, there are new laws in place now, and they're in Canada as well. It's handed down to your children and family, next of kin. Yeah. So if you owe a fuck ton of money, some nephew or someone is going to get dumped on with that. So
I ain't having no babies.
And it doesn't matter if your sister has a baby, or if your brother has a baby, or if you have a cousin. Yeah, it hands down to another generation.
Your next of kin, whoever's related to you.
Mother, it could be a brother, it could be anyone.
And that seems like tyrannically oppressive in itself. It's like, okay, I grew up without a dad, you know, like, no, this is hypothetical me, by the way. So hypothetical me grows up without a dad, and, you know, I never see him because he's a deadbeat, and my mom raises me, and, you know, all my...
Everything's kosher and well and good. And
but then he goes and, like, racks up a crap ton of debt. I've never seen him my whole life, but he dies. All of the rest of his family's dead. I'm his next of kin. Yeah. So now I get all of his debt, and I've never even seen the guy. Like... Yeah. How does that work? Oh, it works because somebody needs their money.
I think in certain instances that you might be able to fight something like that through courts. And
yeah, I would hope so.
Through like a deadbeat dad kind of situation. But I mean, me, my massive debt definitely might go to like my younger brother, my sister, someone else in the family who has more to be able to handle that.
It'll be forgiven by then.
Split it up. There's another thing that I heard too, and I don't know if this is true, about if they can't contact you or find you for X amount of years, that it does get wiped clean because they just kind of write it off. Now, by me actually talking to them on the phone, that resets that whole timer tick, tick, tick again. So
I ain't talking to them.
But the thing is, I haven't filed my taxes in a while. And I just decided the other day I should maybe file my taxes because it's getting there. And so once I called them, they're like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, we need you to call this student loan number, and I'm going to be alerting them. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what they said?
Yep. She goes, I've already like made a note on your file.
That what, you owe? Money?
No, it all came up in my file when I called Revenue Canada, just because like I don't save any paper or anything. So whenever you want to do your taxes, you call them up and say, "Hi, I'm an idiot and I don't save anything." For someone who lost everything in a fire, maybe. So they actually have a record of everything. You don't need to keep shit and lug all these boxes of crates around and everything, or receipts or any of that kind of shit. And so I called up her and I was like, "Yeah, I need all my T4s and all that shit mailed to me here." Okay, and making a note in your student loan account as well. And I was like, "For what?" And she was like, "Oh, that you called us and that you'll be calling them to let them know that what your current work situation is and when you're going to pay them back."
No, I won't.
But I did end up calling them because I really wanted to know what the actual number was, and I wanted to find out what those provincial loans and everything. But again, I feel like I might have restarted that timer. If that is even true, that might just be some hearsay.
The old timer.
Yeah.
But it really sucks because the system is just designed to screw you no matter what. Imagine like you had done everything right and it's like you you go through college or university, you get your degree, and like you're like, all right, yeah, now I'm ready for a job. And then there are no jobs because the market's already flooded with people with degrees because everybody has known for quite some time that the best way to get a job is to get a degree. So now you've got this huge competition in the marketplace, and assuming that you even have a job in your field in the area, who's to say that you'll ever get a chance to go into that field? I don't have any university, okay? I have no post-secondary education. And every job I have worked in, I have worked with people who have had degrees, including waste management when I was a garbage chucker. Like, that gave me no hope for bothering with post-secondary education.
What do you feel about that waste management company? That's a European-owned company.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
And
our waste management.
All of Canada.
Wow.
They handle all of Canada. And we've recently signed a deal with Europe. They're going to be handling our education and our healthcare as well.
And own our water.
And our water.
What?
Yeah, they the Harper government sold Canada's water.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
When?
This was just
not
the
very
last
long
couple
ago.
months. It's been the last few months. I had it on my show here before.
Yeah.
The news articles.
Like,
whoa.
that's what I call one of the 7 heads of the dragon. Like, water.
We're done for.
Yep.
Water's gone.
Because guess who owns all the land in Canada? It ain't Canada.
No.
Do you know who owns the land?
London.
All of
Queen Elizabeth personally.
Yeah.
Not the crown.
Not the crown.
Not the government.
No.
Queen Elizabeth personally owns. What was it?
As a woman.
Does she own? You should look that up right
Not
now.
even
Does
the
she
crown
own
land.
billions of acres or does she own millions of acres? I forget.
Billions of acres.
Billions, like
All the
something
crown
like
land?
She owns the most land on the whole earth,
yeah,
including not the crown land. She owns all of our land.
yeah, like
The land
11
under our
billion
feet that we
acres.
think is ours is actually owned by the Queen. And I don't mean the crown. I mean, if the monarchy were dissolved today, and they said, "Okay, all you people walk away. You're not the Queen anymore.
You're just
the
a
crown
person."
doesn't exist. This gold is fucking taken away." She, as a human being, owns the land under our feet. She bought that with her own money that she saved in her little bank. Fucking
Well,
back
But
in the
then how do we
money.
make? How do we own it?
We don't.
How do you buy a piece of land?
We don't.
Well, you can buy it from the
Buy it from
government,
somebody.
supposedly.
Like if I
but
wanted to buy a piece of land that my dad owns, but we don't actually. That's the fact of ownership. Like we don't actually
what is
really
ownership?
own anything. I mean, I have like this cup in my room, and I've got a screwdriver here, but like I don't own that.
somebody could walk in and just
Anyone
take
could
that
walk
and
in and
leave
take
with
that,
it.
and in 1,000 years, it's gonna dissolve into
Yeah.
fucking nothing, and I'm gonna die before that anyways. I mean,
Yeah.
do I still own it? No. But I have it in my possession for a little while, and that's about it. And it goes in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll buy another one, and that one goes in the trash.
Hopefully not. Jeez.
Yeah, that's just a screwdriver.
have you heard the saying, possession is 9/10 of the law?
Yeah.
A lot of people like to use that for like an argument to say, oh, well, for example, I stole this pen from you and I've got it in my possession, so
now it's
possession
mine.
is 9/10 of the law, so it's mine. What they mean by possession is 9/10 of the law is that 9/10 of all laws that exist concern the realm of possessing things, i.e. possession.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? That's the ownership issue, right? Because of greed, because somebody wants to get something out of it.
Own it.
And I feel like that largely comes from the the desire to exist on the hard work of others without working yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, oh no, rich people, they work so hard to get where they are. And yeah, a lot of them really do. A lot of them bust their ass all their most of their lives, so that they can get so much money that they never have to work again. Does it seem like we should ever really come to that point? I mean, when we're older and it's more, or, in the case of like handicapped people or,
put aside to
those special situations, yeah, I can see not having to work anymore. If it's difficult, if it's painful, you should be able to depend on the society to help take care of you, but you should still contribute however you can, right? You should never be able to just say, okay, well, I've been this successful, so I never have to do anything ever again. And that's capitalism. It's the very concept of money. I feel like it was, some king, whoever invented the first coinage, probably didn't do so out of a need for determining like equal value in bartering. They probably did so because they realized the potential to have the most money. And once having had the most money, you don't have to do anything. It's the American dream, Like, get rich, don't work anymore, send it down the line of your family.
Yep.
The American dream.
Yeah, the American dream. Any kid can grow up and be president.
Concept.
Any kid can be president.
Such bullshit.
It's funny because there's always only so much room at the top.
Exactly.
And it's lonely at the top.
Not everybody can be a millionaire. There's ain't that much money in the world.
Yeah, there's not that many millions.
No.
Unless they print more. There we go.
Too many pennies lost in the world.
And I feel like inflation...
Are you on a schedule? You on a time frame or anything? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Cool. Just didn't know if we had to cut this or anything.
No.
Well, we have to cut it now. I mean, you don't want to leave this whole conversation here, do you? Dun dun dun.
I don't cut anything. I'm a non-cutter.
It's all raw and uncut.
That's right.
Like my paper. But I feel like inflation, it comes from pretty much the same place. It's like, inflation happens when you add more money to the system, and so everybody has more money. But really, doesn't it originally stem from greed? I mean, you've got, say, that ball over there, for example. Okay, let's say that ball is worth exactly $10. And you play with it for a while, you use it, you work out on it, whatever you use the ball for. I don't want to know what you personally use the ball for.
I haven't used it yet. I just got it yesterday. So.
Sure.
That's what they always say.
But, they do always say that.
But that ball is worth exactly $10.
Yeah.
And you use it, and you get your enjoyment out of it, and then you're like, well, I'm kind of bored of it now. I'm going to sell this ball. But your neighbor comes along, and he's kind of dopey, and you're like, I could just recoup my cost, but I'd really like to get that foot-long sub today. So, hey, buddy, I'll sell you this ball for $15. So
and
now...
he says, yeah, okay, I'll buy that. Don't be.
Yeah, exactly.
Ball and
yeah, but he just coughed up $15 of his hard-earned cash. Yeah. Now let's pretend that we don't live in a super-inflated society already. You just basically devalued all of society by a tiny percentage based on the fact that somebody worked for a certain value of money and then paid more than the value for your item just because you were able to convince them that they should.
Do so, yeah.
Yeah. So you've devalued all of the money just by doing that. And then how many times does that happen? And on what scales are we looking at? I mean, you get enough people selling garbage for more money than they paid for it. And that's the beginning of inflation right there. Like, eventually it comes to a point you have to create more money or else nobody will have money to give. Only the people who have been screwing everybody else over and hoarding it, will have money. So,
bastards.
Yeah.
Better get hoarding.
Yeah.
Or else. Watch out.
So this concept of like adding more money to the system is actually not a bad idea, even though it does, quote unquote, cause inflation. At the same time, it also creates a more equal distribution as more money comes in, assuming...
Not necessarily,
yeah. Assuming that the money was ever equally distributed in the first place.
We should go back, really, to money being equal to the representative of the gold that we have.
Yeah, the gold standard.
And you know what? People are like, well, I don't want to carry around all that gold. I fucking do. Because then I know exactly how much I got. And you know what? I know that some other guy isn't, like, trading my gold for other gold that's not even in there, you know?
I feel like it's not even necessary to have a monetary system anymore. I feel like there are enough people
Who
being
just wanna do
productive
stuff.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, there's enough busybodies, too, who just can't fucking sit still, who are like, I just gotta do something. I just gotta do something.
Imagine you lived in a world where, like,
Yeah.
people grew the food for free and, you know, passed it out and shared it for free because they knew that no matter what they needed, they could go somewhere and get that for free also.
Oh, speaking of that, there were some laws passed in certain states now where it's now illegal to, if I have a tomato plant in the backyard, it's illegal. I'm allowed to grow that tomato plant. I'm allowed to take the tomatoes and eat it inside my house. It's illegal for me to sell it or even give it away to my neighbor. Because apparently they're saying that, well, you're not an expert at growing food. And
In other words, you don't know if your land is poisoned and you're feeding poison to your neighbor or
Right.
yourself.
That's
Right.
baloney.
It's okay to feed it to yourself, but you're not allowed to feed it to your neighbor because they want you to go to the store to buy it, basically. And that's unfortunate.
That is really unfortunate.
Otherwise, it would just be illegal to grow the tomato to feed it to yourself. But they don't care whether you poison yourself and die, as long
Could
as you're
you
not costing them
imagine if
money.
it got that far?
Well,
It's illegal to grow your own food?
It's already illegal to have
getting
your own
there.
food. Like,
It's getting there.
can't have a backyard chicken growing,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
hatching your or laying eggs, or making more chickens, God forbid.
and that that news article about the walnuts.
Yeah.
That
Ooh,
is
walnuts.
messed
You
up.
know, walnuts are a drug, right? I mean,
An illegal drug.
they have nutrients, you know, nutritional value. They could even have curative properties. That makes them a drug. So, FDA better get on that shit and make walnuts safe for me. Because Mother Nature doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
They better go in and take out that bad stuff that's in them.
Yeah. That
The curative
walliness.
properties. Yeah. Get all the wall out of my nut, please.
I only want nuts. There won't be any flavor left. That's okay.
Get all the
There won't be any
nuts on your
nutrients
wall.
left. That's okay. 100% nut.
How you are, what you eat.
No, you know what? Let's just go read that news article. Where is it? The walnuts. The walnuts. Somewhere. Where'd they go?
Walnuts, right there.
There it is. So here's what's going on. We all know the goodness in nuts, walnuts in particular. Obama has appointed Monsanto's vice president
Lord.
Monsanto.
as the senior advisor to the Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration. That's the FDA. So Diamond Foods, this is a company that grows walnuts.
Yeah.
The walnut farmers. They marketed their walnuts as being good for your health. The FDA sent them letters saying that if they continue to market their walnuts under the guise of health, they must not be marketed as food and must be marketed as drugs. So rather than just like waiting for them to stop marketing it as health and just saying it's food, they just, in the same letter, continued to say that, and now since that you're doing these drugs, you're making these drugs, growing these drugs.
Yeah, growing drugs.
They haven't been approved by us. So any drug that is not approved by us is illegal. So they're saying that the walnuts are now illegal. And they've even threatened to go into this company and confiscate their illegal drugs through means of police.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
I wonder if Diamond Foods produces all natural produce.
I'm not sure. Didn't look into that. But
Not that Monsanto would allow that for very long.
No.
You know, I hear that if you go into the bathroom at midnight and stare into the mirror and say Monsanto 3 times, a guy shows up in like a biochemical suit with some, some of that toxic spray shit. Yeah. So I would advise not doing that. Monsanto's the devil.
And
Yeah.
do bees shoot out of this guy's mouth too?
I think they do, actually, yeah.
He barks bees.
He barks bees, yeah.
I've always wanted to see
Oh,
that. We should
man.
try that tonight. Yeah. The death of TV.
Oh,
Yeah?
yeah.
Ever heard of it?
Death of TV. I would love to see that.
The death of television. Although it's not going to
Love to
last
see
for
that
very much
too.
longer because of our whole internet thing that's going down. I'm pretty sure that's what this was talking about.
Oh, yeah, the death of internet would definitely spur the rise of TV
Oh,
again.
yeah. TV will be back on the rise.
Yeah.
And the shitty thing about that is that there's so many shows that I watch and documentaries that I watch that are on these like piracy sites because you just
Mhm.
can't find them anywhere else. That are
Totally.
totally free, totally legal, and there's shows from the other side of the earth. Like, what was that one with the dog? That fucking dog who smoked the pipe and everything.
Wilfred.
Wilfred, yeah.
Yeah,
That was fucking
that was-
hilarious. But you
That
know
was
what?
hilarious.
The British version is awesome. The American version,
You mean Australian version?
Australian-
I feel
the
like
Australian
it's
version
gonna
is good.
change, like copyright is gonna change in the way that like artists are gonna have to change it.
Mhm.
In terms of like they're gonna have to not put copyright on their work.
that's right.
In
You
order
know,
to
if they
be able
want
to
it to
freely
be
distribute.
There's actually something
Freely
called
distributed, yeah.
copy wronged is what you put.
Really?
Yeah, so copyright, copy wrong. And
That's serious? Is that
yeah,
something?
it's something that a lot of people do, copy wrong, and it makes it public domain.
Really?
Interesting.
And it's got like a little W in a circle instead of
Yeah.
a C, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like I like that Wilfred show. Under our networks that they give us here, we would never be allowed to ever watch that shit here. Like,
Yeah.
we can't get into that.
Mhm.
So, like, if like internet's gone, and then what do we got? Oh, let's get some fucking digital cable. Where's that Wilfred show I like to watch? Oh, it's not there. Why? Oh, because we don't want you guys to watch that shit. We don't want you guys watching a dog dressed up in costume. fucking
Exposing
smoking
yourself
a
to
bomb.
culture without paying and going through the airport system?
That's right.
What?
I mean, there's so much more enriching shit that I've learned from all over the earth through the internet and through like
Yeah.
free piracy sites. Let's
Yeah.
say, yar.
And it's
Yar.
ridiculous that it even has to be called a piracy site in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sharing site.
Yeah.
They share.
Yeah, I think that just the mode that we produce things and share things will be different.
Yeah, the medium.
Yeah. It's just gonna change.
It'll have to
the
evolve
method in
again.
which we do things will.
But, you know, I really like this group Anonymous. I'll give them a
Mhm.
shout out big
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Anonymous. I guess can't even really call them a group. It's more like a dispersion of individuals. But
Yeah.
it's really great that way. They kind of almost even have the Occupy model going for them, you
Mhm.
know? It's like, there is no leader. There's no
They have
tangible
recently
force to reason
they have
with.
recently vowed to take down Monsanto.
I hope they do.
I hope they do.
I hope
100%
they do as well.
support.
Mhm.
Yep.
There was a website, just like a blog site, that threw the article up about what they had done to Monsanto already,
Mhm.
and then just like hundreds and hundreds of people like, thank you Anonymous, you guys fucking rock.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it gave me like goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. It's like, oh, it's so awesome, and,
Yeah.
like, inspiring, and you get this like sense of well-being that
Yeah.
there are people who are looking out for other
Yeah.
people, and that. Even though all the Harpers and the Obamas and the Bushes that are out there, there are still the people who have a little bit of power who
Yeah.
can get in there and, fuck shit up
Yeah.
for them.
Hackers,
hope
they're the
so.
wizards of the modern world, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, they've already taken away like millions and millions of dollars from different corporations and then donated it to charities. So
Mhm.
they do some good work, man.
Yeah.
And not always, I don't know, I'm sure they put a little bit in their pocket themselves, but they have always boasted about not being that way.
Yeah.
And just doing it for kicks kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess that's where it started. I used to do a little bit of light hacking when I was younger.
Light hacking.
Light hacking. I was a cheap hacker. I used the just programs and things.
Not gonna fess up to anything else, are you?
I'm not going to say the words of the things that I did. But yeah, I did some shit. And
Yeah.
I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it for any other reason other than to see if I could do it. To get
Mhm.
in places and see what I could look at.
Yeah.
And you know what? I have been on hundreds of people's computers without them knowing. And you know what? Nobody really has anything cool. Nobody has anything cool anywhere.
Everyone's boring.
Everyone's boring.
End of story. Go home.
Yeah. There was nothing interesting. And that's kind of where it left me. I was like, wow, this fucking sucks. I thought I would like be finding pictures and documents and shit and people's MP3 files and things. I was like, wow, everybody listens to shit music. They have stupid files on their computer that don't mean jack shit to me. And it's fucking boring. So I kind of got out of it because of that. So.
Yeah.
But there is still a danger, though, in the fact that it's so easy to hack information. I, for example, am somewhat of a writer, and more than actually like writing full-length, books or complex articles or anything like that, I mostly write concepts, and I used to conceptualize so many like just things that haven't been done in the mainstream. It's like, I'm really into movies too, so I'm pretty aware of what's out there, but I would go back and I would like write my own ideas and come up with this, really original creative stuff, but there's always the factor that, if anything you think of, somebody else has thought of somewhere else, so there's going to be stuff that you think of that nobody else has thought of yet that ends up coming out and you're like, hey, I thought of that. But, I've seen that happen quite a lot, and I've also been online basically my entire writing life, and I can't help but think about how easy it would have been for anyone on so many occasions, especially because I frequented IRC chat rooms and other very unsecure places on the internet in the early days. How easy it would have been for somebody to gain access to my computer, take any of my ideas, make it into a multi-billion-dollar industry, and
get away with it.
And there's absolutely no recourse. And that could have happened to so many other people who came up with better ideas than mine. It probably has happened a lot. And what's the recourse? There's basically nothing you can do.
They say that statistically, every idea that you have, a great idea, 7 people are having that idea on the earth
at the same time.
And it's all about who is in the right situation where they can go to their mommy and daddy or somebody and just be like, I have a great idea. And they're like, that's a great idea. Here's a bunch of money. Go do it.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back down to those people who are trying to be in that upper category of that 1%, who always want to just continue to hold it all and hoard it all away and then just hand it down. But you know what? They're not going to necessarily create the brightest offspring.
No. They won't. They haven't.
No, so they're not really going to know what to do with all this money. When all these old fogies are gone here in the next 10, 20 years, unless they've properly groomed their kids to be devious assholes like they are.
It's going to be a shit show.
Yeah. There's going to be a bunch of kids with all this fucking money going, we're going to fucking party!
Yeah, there are. There
are already.
Exist. Yeah. The hell, some of those kids have their own TV shows, just about how they're rich brats and they don't really do anything else. And I wasn't thinking about Paris Hilton at first, but I was thinking of who was that family? It centered around the guys. They were 2 brothers or something, and they were in their mid-20s, and
I haven't watched TV.
I totally know. I
accidentally click on some shit sometimes.
They're bratty rich kids. They're 25 years old or older, and
the mafia kids.
Yeah, basically, they do whatever the hell they want to do, and we just watch them. This is the show. We watch them.
This is what entertains us.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I stopped watching TV before that even became popular.
Yeah,
but it was so easy to see that direction that it's going in.
I watched TV for the first time today, Much Music or something.
Oh God.
I was at a friend of Sean's house today. We were getting his car fixed.
Was there actually music on it?
It was Much Music.
Oh, wow.
And it was just hipster videos to the max. I had no idea. No
Hipsters
clue.
Are blown up, man. That's all the rage.
What even happened to TV?
Deep irony there. Hipsters.
So funny.
Yeah. I wonder what hipsters do though once they realize they've become mainstream.
Yeah.
Do they just kill themselves or do they?
Yeah.
They stop existing.
Yeah.
Disappear.
They're no longer hipsters.
Yeah. Then they're
We need a new name.
Then they're cool folks. Yes, I'm finally cool.
I'm not cool. Look at these glasses I'm wearing. They're dorky. And everybody's wearing the glasses.
That's funny.
Yep.
Yeah, a sea of individuals.
Yeah.
All dressing the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
All dressing uniquely the same. Individually. Oh, God.
I hope can we just take this back to Occupy for a second? I'm thinking, like, what do you think? I mean, we haven't seen a lot actually accomplished from Occupy yet, but what do you think the best thing we could see from this movement is? What do you think? Like, what direction?
To be honest, I think there
go?
has been a lot that has come from Occupy.
A lot of awareness for sure, but what's actually been accomplished?
There's been a lot accomplished, and it doesn't necessarily mean within the like government system or anything like that. It just means that people are changing like for themselves, and doing exactly what they want to do, and realizing that you don't have to like live in a mainstream way that like the rest of our society is living in. And it has brought together the activist community in many places, and built up a lot of connections as well. I know that I built lifelong connections when I was in New York, of activists, and not even just from New York, but all over the States. And even Canada as well, and Montreal, and there was people from Toronto and Montreal there as well. So I definitely think that there has been a lot done by Occupy already. It may not be like visual to everybody, but I know like even in my personal life, one of my very good friends was saying today that she wasn't totally involved in the like planning aspect of Occupy Nova Scotia, but it's where she really learned how she wants to live her life. She really came into herself and really started to understand herself and make connections with people who want to live their life the way that she wants to live her life,
Yeah. It's definitely given people, shown them some options, outside of the daily grind.
That they didn't know might have existed.
Yeah.
Yeah. People... Yeah. Before I started really caring about all these environmental and political issues and stuff like that, I thought it would just be way too much work to even try to live more locally or more vegetarian or whatever. And everything that I've learned just especially since Occupy started, it's just shown me there are so many options. We have alternate. What's the word I'm looking? Alternative means to survive. We don't have to depend on factory farming, and that's a big thing that Occupy is protesting. We don't have to depend on systems which cause environmental destruction. Another big thing that Occupy protests.
Yeah, fracking.
Exactly, the fracking issue is a big one. The overfishing of the oceans, that's a huge issue that, again, Occupy is protesting. The wealth distribution, the corruption in the banking system in general, the fact that our politics aren't transparent and the money that our government is spending are not transparent. These are all issues that Occupy is constantly fighting. Yeah. And just bringing awareness to them and showing these alternatives are definitely providing, at least the means to solutions, if not solutions themselves.
Yeah, and even just allowing people to come together and communicate and talk about what's going on and and sharing their injustices and just letting people know that they've been fucked around by the government, or letting the government know you fucked me around, or just
sharing knowledge too.
I think sharing knowledge, and
we can talk about things all we want. I think the next step is to actually do it.
Yeah.
And actually get into these self-sustaining communities and start building them ourselves and start finding ways to get these lands involved. And
that's
I know
exactly
it sucks
what a lot of
because
occupiers are doing.
Things like pollution and all that, that's kind of always going to happen around us, and we're not going to have any control over that. And like you said, with the fracking and all that, and there's environmental issues that are at play, but you're gonna have to like eventually break free of the system and go out and fucking do some shit. Like, you know, we're gonna have to raise our own chickens and raise our own whatever the fuck we want to eat, and just do it. Just do it. You can't just keep. I mean, I say that, and I'm sitting here in this comfy chair in this basement here in Halifax. And, you know, in the city, in the middle of the city.
All of our beautiful electronics around us.
The whole room is fucking glowing with electricity here.
Yeah.
We're just sucking the juice out, man. Fuck. But
that's what Wall Street.
I don't.
Going to Wall Street was for me really was just like letting go of my own hypocrisies. You know, like I was going there to like fight the hypocrisies of, you know, the government and whatnot, and I just realized that I needed to come into my ideals more and what I believed in fully. And it definitely made me do that.
And everything you did there was really easy and lots of fun, and you couldn't think of a single other thing that you'd rather be doing, right?
Yeah. Because we're afraid of what we don't know, right? So we don't know like what's gonna happen, or like, I don't know. But then it happens, and you're like, oh, that was a lot easier than I was expecting. You know?
No, but I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, though.
No.
It's like, really. I mean, you don't just go and live out in the elements for 8 weeks.
No.
You know, because you think it's fun, you can't think of something better to do.
Well, you might.
I suppose, yeah, some people might. Yeah.
You might.
But there are other things that I'm sure you would have rather been doing, like things that would have been easier, things that would have been
That's supposed to be in California.
more entertaining.
Definitely.
California is a much better place than rainy New York.
Yeah, much warmer.
Yeah. What were you gonna do in California?
We're just gonna go and explore. I have some friends up there a friend that I traveled in South America with.
Are you gonna go back? Are you gonna revisit that trip that you had planned on?
I hope.
Yeah. I've always had dreams of going to California. I don't know why. I just always thought I'd like to
I just want to see the big forest.
That would be pretty cool.
And have it be warm as
Giant
well.
sequoias.
Warm and the beach.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if our country was still covered in like trees like that?
I wish.
Giant sequoias. We could live in those trees.
It was
like
what,
literally.
World War I that they
Started harvesting them?
demolished all that? World War II? World War I think.
I saw this interesting video once about these people who live in the redwoods of Alberta, in the trees way up top. All year long, they live up there. They live on a strict diet of nuts and things like that. And at first, I thought it was a joke, and I had to watch it. And then they had like their interview camera guy down at the bottom of the tree, and then the tree man himself came scurrying down, and you could tell just by looking in his eyes and how he's just a fucking 100% animal instinct. He wasn't ready to he couldn't articulate words or anything. He wasn't ready to ever go back into any kind of society or anything, because he had been living up in this fucking tree, just like him and like a couple other people up there. Had this intricate network of like ropes and everything. It looked like an Ewok village up there, basically. But you know, he's like, yeah, sometimes we like eat squirrels or something if a squirrel comes by. And it's not like they're out hunting them and growing shit. Like you eat what is provided for you and what's there. And if there's not enough for more people, then more people can't live there, kind of thing. You know, so I've always thought that really interesting. That people trying to live up in the trees, but. This guy's beard was like down to here, and like all like little dirt beard tree things, leaves in it and everything. And like he definitely looked like a man squirrel kind of thing. Like and like he had the claw things hooked up, so you could like and like that's how he like came down the tree. Was like climbed it right down, and then when it was time to go back,
his bare hands.
Well, he had these like strap things on with like metal claws attached, and he had them like on his knees and
Put
stuff.
them into the.
And he's like climb up the tree. And that's how we got around everywhere.
Beautiful.
Going through like a monkey.
I wish.
Yeah. That's what I've been saying. Maybe we should go back to the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we fucked up.
I don't know if I want to go that far, but I definitely think that I could have survived well in a life that was far more natural, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think things just got out of hand once we got past the sword and bow era, you know? Like, I think that's about the most technology we ever needed.
Yeah. I think things just really got out of hand in general.
Yeah.
In fucking everything, man.
I agree.
But I have to say, like, considering...
Laziness and...
Comfort.
comfort and the fact that I don't know. We kind of went places that maybe we should have went, and then we started destroying the earth to stay in those places.
Yeah.
Like maybe we're really
Unnecessarily
not
too.
supposed
So
to live
unnecessary.
Live in Canada?
in a place where it fucking snows 6 months a year and it's so cold that you would
I
die.
agree.
Were it not for tearing down the whole environment around us.
Yeah.
It's like, you're gonna die. So it's like, maybe, yeah, the people who came here, maybe they should have fucking died. Maybe we should have not had it in our brains to be like, destroy, destroy, burn, fire, and destruction.
How much do we
down.
destroy regularly just to not destroy ourselves? Like, I mean, there's a survival aspect. Yeah, every creature kills and to eat or whatever, but at the same time, I guess not every creature, but
Most of them.
but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, how much is too much destruction to justify my own life? How much oil do I have to rape from the land? How much of the land itself do I have to destroy?
Yeah.
You know, how much food do I have to take from other people or other creatures? You know, it's I don't know. There's definitely a good point to us not ever
Destroying.
having or should have ever having moved here.
I can envision like these like fairy folks living at one with the land and at one with the earth, and there wouldn't be billions of them. There could only really be a small handful of them, and they would only exist in these small little clusters in certain places where it was sustainable. There wouldn't be a mass. That, or we are like an outside disease that has landed on the earth from outer space.
See, I feel that...
There's
feel-
these meteor... Just a sec.
Oh,
There's these
yeah.
meteorites that have been hitting the earth for as long as the earth's been around. Meteorites fall from the sky and hit the earth. And until just recently, they have never actually gotten one that hadn't been contaminated by humans in any way. So finally one had fell like up in the Arctic, and scientists tracked it, and they went, concealed it completely, quarantined the area, dug this thing up out of the ice where it landed with machines and everything, no human interaction, took it out with machines, put it into like an airtight vacuum seal, brought it into a lab, and it had the makings of human DNA on that fucking rock. It had life on it. That basically, that shit fell to the earth, and if it would have landed in the right area, it could have definitely evolved and grown into other shit later on. So
Crazy.
there is a theory of that, but there's also another theory about shit has been hitting the earth and blowing the earth up and knocking chunks of the earth off, and that might have been what made our asteroid belt. So maybe a bunch of people's fucking skin is on that asteroid belt and maybe just falling back down. So there's, I don't know. Maybe it's a big apple and we're just fucking the mold rotting the fucker. And another interesting theory that I kind of came up with, I might have heard it somewhere, but I feel like I came up with it just recently. You know how when you look into an atom and it's the same as our little universe, the way everything just kind of lines up? And the fact that when we split an atom, it creates like the atom bomb. Is that because we're just splitting open some guy's universe? That's the reaction you get when you split open a fucking universe? Is that
Probably.
it will cause
Snow
mass
globe theory.
destruction in our universe?
Yeah.
Something to think about.
That's a string of conversation that could go on for another 3 hours.
Oh,
like
Yeah.
snow globe theory is huge, and I've thought about that a lot and discussed it with my friends.
Is that what it's called? Snow globe theory?
Yeah, it's snow globe theory. The idea is that like the world is just a snow globe, which is inside of a snow globe, which is inside of a snow globe, and so on.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed this in Men in Black. I remember popularized it really well when they had like a universe. Yeah, universe inside of Orion's. They called it Orion's belt.
Because
yeah,
the cat
it
was named
cat's
Orion.
gem,
And it
yeah.
was on her
Exactly. And inside of that, there were more gems. And inside of that, there were more gems. But then going all the way back out of those gems, back to Earth, like it came out further, and we were in a gem. Yeah. And that's snow globe theory. Like the world is a snow globe inside a snow globe inside a snow globe. My friends
that from all the experiences I've had through my mind.
yeah.
You know, if anyone's ever tried salvia before, you've gone through one of
Oh
those snow
man!
globes.
Oh yes, I have left the snow globe.
Yeah, I left this snow globe. I went into another one.
Yeah. That snow globe is fucked up, I tell you.
It was. I got in this little flying spaceship thing with this other creature, and I don't know what it was. I just know that it was there. It's like that dream feeling when you're like, you look at when you just know someone's next to you.
Kind of accept it.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm there with fucking Carl.
Yeah.
And Carl flew me up into this little cylinder tube up here. We went into this other bubble, then it brought me back right into the room that I was in. Just like, wow, thanks, Carl. Maybe he was like a guard or like a cop or something. Just like, you're not supposed to be here.
A cop.
Cop in the Salvia world.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? Get back in here,
Interplanar police force.
You're going to go into here, buddy. You're not supposed to know about this yet.
Yeah.
Wow. Enbridge. Done. It's not happening.
Woohoo!
Wow. I'm surprised, to be honest. I thought for sure it was going to go through.
Yeah, me too. It was all hanging in the balance of this one native tribe. Now, the thing is, in Canada, they have this deal signed where... And you know they're going to try and reverse this deal pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
First Nations have first say over the environment around them.
Mm-hmm.
So if a deal is going to be made, they have to approve it if it's going to affect their livelihood. And they live at one with the earth, so it's like the environment, fisheries, and all that kind of shit. There was one, I don't want to use the wrong word, tribe. There was one tribe that was, and I can't even pronounce that, Gitxsan. Gitxsan?
I have no idea.
Gitxsan. These were the guys who were like about to sign the deal. And now what happened was it was their chief who was like, yeah, we're going to do that. And we're going to get this $7 million in profit. And just rape the land and fuck everything over. That was going to bring in the oil tankers cutting all through. Now this was going to cut through other First Nations lands who had lobbied against this. 70 of them had signed a petition to not go through with it.
Yeah.
Because it would have they relied on the fish that come from this area, and then the oil tankers were going to have to always go by. And they already knew, one of them had already sunk, and within the last 5 years or something, had sunk out there. And had leaked oil and everything. So
which poisoned the entire...
Poisoned a bunch of shit.
Environment, yeah.
And so, now this tribe was like, no, we don't want your fucking... The chief was like, yeah, I want the money. And now his own community came out.
Fired him.
They bombarded his whole fucking place. They did arm in arm, rallied outside, dragged him out of his fucking office, and that's it, you're fired, buddy, you're not doing this. And they said no, and they said no to Enbridge, and then Enbridge was like, well, you know what, we're still really going to, we're going to work out a deal with them in the future. We're working on plans, and the community retorted to that again, rebutted it, and said, no, we are not making any plans with Enbridge ever, at any cost, for any reason we're going to do this. And so, that right there was the deal breaker. They needed these people to sign this in order to go ahead with this, to try and even get their foot in the door to convince the other people to go along with it. And since these guys said no, that was it. It was done. It's over with. And now here's the interesting part. President Obama, the same day, put his press release out saying that he rejected it. That it was all his fault, that it's just not the right time for us and all this kind of shit, and we wish that we could have worked together, and someday in the future we might be able to work together, but he's kind of taking all the credit for cancelling this thing. Right in on his fucking golden white horse. And
bullshit.
Yeah. So really, we know who is to thank for that, which was the people of that community.
Yeah.
Who outed that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I copied this from Clayton's thing here. Clayton has a group on Facebook about tyranny and ending it.
Yeah, actions canceling tyranny.
Actions canceling tyranny. Feel free to join, if you so desire.
Or, don't.
Me too.
Basically the same goals as Occupy and Fire the Liars, and who else can I drop a name for? It's Occupy Nova Scotia, Occupy Wall Street, the 99% movement, Solidarity Halifax. I mean, it's all Occupy. Yeah, it is. It's all Occupy. It's the same. Yeah, wherever you go, you can occupy.
Where you are.
But it's it's all in alignment. We all want pretty much the same things. We're just trying to stop corruption, and I feel like all of these groups would benefit from, as I mentioned earlier, like aligning themselves with the police. I know it sucks how many corrupt police there are, and it sucks worse that even the ones that aren't really corrupt are being guided by the corrupt. But when it comes down to the wire and we're staring at, you know, the extreme has happened, and so now the 1% are saying, okay, we can't afford to let this go on any longer. We're going to crush this medieval style. And they're going to come down, and they're going to bring, you know, men in tanks and with guns and huge numbers of them, technology and training. And what are we going to fight back with? Peace and love? Are we going to fight back with rocks and sticks? Are you going to go and grab your uncle's .22? You got a shotgun you've been keeping in the closet for just that occasion? Great, yeah, fire your shotgun at a tank. See how well that does. Okay? It's just not going to happen. I don't care if every Canadian citizen, you know, gathers together, you know, in the places that they even can gather. Like Halifax is a good spot. Like a lot of people could join together. Okay, you're either going to see a huge slaughter, a la, you know, the Boston Massacre, or, you know, they may actually back down temporarily just to kill people later, you know, or to arrest people, or, you know,
toss them all in prison.
Yeah, exactly. Like somehow subvert the situation. But they're not going to give up their power. Eventually, it's going to come down to a real fight. And who do you want on your side? Do you want... Or, well, I shouldn't even put it that way. This is the real question. The real question is, which side do you want the police to be on? Do you want the police to be on your side, or do you want the police to be with the tanks? And the same is true of the military. Like, building those bridges between people who join the military and people who are politically active and would typically never join the military because they're aware how they're being manipulated and all of the evil things that they're forced to do. Like, it's so important to build those connections, because when it comes down to the fighting, it's only going to be through reasoning and like loyalty that we have any protection.
2 cousins in the military who are just totally brainwashed. They, you know, they tell them to jump, they're going to jump. But then again, I have another handful of friends, several of them, who are hardcore party people, just like I am.
In the military?
Those guys are awesome. Yeah, they're in the military. They know how many cups of water they got to drink to get this shit out of the system before they got to go back in there and fucking, you know, and they make a fuckload of cash, and, you know, they just, like, they enjoy life. And that's all they're about. It's partying, having fun, enjoying life. And yet they know all the corruption that is in there, but that's the thing. These are kind of the guys who are going to, when it comes down to, like, the order to, like, go in here and kill this room of babies, they're the ones who are going to be like, you know what, sir, like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to kill the babies. You're going to kill the babies or I'm going to kill you. Okay.
Yeah.
And then kill his commanding officer. These are those kind of people, man. And so, like, I feel like there's enough of them out there who have, like, done some shit, freed their minds, and they know better. And yet they still will operate within these places because it's their way of life. Again, it's all they know. They're not. They can't leave there and go be a mechanic or something. Hypocrisy.
Having ideals, but not living up to them. You know.
I think they would if they're put in that situation. Like, it's right now, shit has not hit the fan for them right now, so they're kind of just going along with it, riding the wave till it crashes. They're gonna keep taking their money, keep taking the. Oh, here's an extra 60 grand if you go to Afghanistan for 3 months. Okay. Thank you. And then they're going to these places where they're going on these bases, where your base is like a million miles away from any kind of fighting that's going on, and you're just kind of like hanging out there. The fuck are we here for? I don't know. We've been here for 3 months. Go back home. And they come back home, and they got an extra 60 grand in their pocket. And what do? They party. And they buy crap and shit.
Stupid.
And they live life. Buy houses and stuff.
Crap and shit. Yeah.
Woo!
But like I was saying, these guys are a little more down to earth. They buy, like,
totally
modest homes and things like that.
It is definitely
planting
hypocrisy,
gardens
though.
and shit
I mean,
like that, you know.
like, I'm certainly participating in a fair amount of hypocrisy. I mean, I have a lot of ideals that I betray by living my life every day in the situation that I'm living in. My hope, though, is that when it comes down to that moment of truth, like, will we see people become heroes or monsters. And I'd like to believe that I'd be a hero, but, you know, I haven't had my moment of truth yet, so we'll see.
If I could give away everything in my room, and if it meant for any kind of, like, greater purpose, like, I would fucking give away all this technology and all my shit and all my stuff if it meant for the greater good of everyone. And I feel that there's a lot of people who are like that, who are just like, yeah, you know what, I don't need fucking 25 hats. You know, there's only 3 hanging there, but I have like 3. You know, I could give away a bunch of this shit so that everybody can at least have one something. You know, there's enough food to feed absolutely everybody, and there's enough clothes to clothe absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
There's more than enough clothes.
More than enough food too.
Yeah, and there's more enough land.
Yet it ends up in the garbage.
And I mean, I don't know, I'm one of those people, but there are people who, like some older family members of mine, who just would fucking not. And I've already talked to them about, like, occupying things like that. And, like, I've worked hard my whole life to get all this stuff, and look, it's all my stuff, and I like driving my stuff around. I like going with my stuff, and it's mine, me, my stuff.
Yeah.
And that is the generation ahead of me, so.
Yeah.
And they happen to be the ones with all the stuff right now.
And there's still just so many people hopelessly immersed in the system, so far from waking up. Like, maybe that should really be Occupy's big goal at the moment. Yeah, just waking more people up.
That's really what it was.
Here,
yeah.
They succeeded in large
LSD
part.
in the water.
The what?
Just put LSD in the water.
Oh, that would wake
I'll
a lot
do
of people up.
I'll do it.
That would wake a whole lot of people up.
Yeah. The CIA did this. It came out. It leaked a long time ago. They did it
I wonder
to a
about
town
in France, wasn't it?
France, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, back in like the 50s.
Yeah.
They were like, we want to know what's going to happen if mass hysteria breaks out.
LSD.
And they put LSD in the water and got this whole... People died. People killed each other. Little kids went crazy. Everyone just lost their fucking shit.
Imagine the religious, like, manipulation that would be capable in a situation like that.
There's another podcast I watched, the Joe Rogan podcast, and this guy, Duncan Trussell, he's really funny. He came up with this idea. He said, what if we could militarize, like, the way, you know, like they would say, like, what's that warfare with disease and shit like that?
Biological
warfare, but with LSD. If we could create some kind of cold virus that I could just cough on you guys, and you're going to get this virus, and we're all going to get high on each other. And it's only going to last for like a few hours, right? And then it's going to be gone, and it'll run through your system. But absolutely everyone, it's so contagious, absolutely everyone is going to catch it, no matter what. And all
catch the LSD.
Catch the LSD. And we're all going to have this experience together.
Mass awakening.
Mass awakening.
The world, like, the world would be so different. It would completely change.
Don't want to wake up.
I wish you could see. I wish you could see. That's the line that I saw or heard from this woman when watching a video of like, she was just a total, you know, like a square, you know, from like the 50s or something.
Yeah. And
it was a government experiment, and they dosed her with LSD, and she was just like this normal, working, everyday person, and she, like, you could see her awaken. It was like watching her spirit rise up out of her body. Cool. It was amazing, and she said, "I wish you could see. I wish you could see." And it stuck with me, and I think it'll always stick with me, because that's exactly what it's like. I wish you could see.
Yeah.
I wish everyone could see.
Me too.
Get those blinders off, people. Like this. We're all about the sign language here.
Oh, man.
Are we done this motherfucker or what?
I think so.
I'm starting to get the yawns.
Because we're Generation Triple X, all about the weed smoke and the kinky sex. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I can't believe you got a tattoo. I don't even have a tattoo.
Yep. I don't have a tattoo either. I mean, I do now, but I didn't until then.
How long did it take?
Just about an hour.
Yeah.
I have my designs in my head. I have to transcribe them down to paper, fairly
And then
intricate
here.
and all this shit. There's a microphone on an arm, thing wrapping up around the side. I
Yeah.
have my own, like, for my MC name that I've had into it. I made this,
Cool.
designed this logo for here. I've got a Pisces logo that I've made for my arm over here,
Mhm.
and 3 different bands that I've been in. I'm making like this Triforce thing, like from Zelda, like the, what's that thing called?
Triforce.
The Triforce. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. It's not the Triforce. It was never meant to be that, but that's
Yeah.
the best way to describe
Mhm.
it. And that goes like fills up my whole back.
Cool.
So it's not
Upside down?
Yeah, like triangle, like
Yeah. Cool.
coming in, so like on the shoulders like that, and a piece at the bottom, and
Cool.
it ties in all 3 bands that I've been in, and
Cool.
things that have really made impressions in my life, maybe who I am.
Mhm.
And I guess as time goes on, I'll add some more shit
Yeah.
to my legs and everything.
Yeah, I'm working on this arm by myself.
That's
It's gonna
amazing.
be all my own work.
Are you left-handed? Or no, you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
Who did your tree?
Helena. Okay. What place is that? It's across from Reflections.
Helena.
Helena. Helena, darling.
What is that place across from Reflections?
I think it's like Outcasting or something.
No,
or
Outcast
Like, in Newcomb's. Newcomb's Inc.
Newcomb's, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Outcast did mine.
Yeah.
Outcast.
Yeah, Outcast Inc.
Is that Dartmouth?
Forever?
Nope, it's right here in Halifax on North
Oxford?
Street.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Across from Gus's.
Yeah.
Totally.
Do you have any shout outs? Do you have any fundraisers happening before you guys leave?
We
or-
have a fundraiser happening a couple doors down that way.
Okay.
We're going to be having a Shiva's Shisha Den. Our second Shisha Den, our 3rd event. Fundraising again for our journey to India.
That's awesome.
It's going to be on Sunday. I don't know what date that is.
That's
This
alright.
coming Sunday?
This coming Sunday.
Cool.
We have the date right here.
And where is this? Or would you rather, do you want to say?
Sunday is
Townhouses. A couple doors down.
February.
For anybody who knows us is listening. Yeah.
February 5th.
You know where
couple
the
houses
townhouses
down.
are?
Dunkin' Go Nuts. No, don't come here. It's not a party here. Go.
We've got a shotgun.
We'll tell you where to go, though. Tell you right where to go. 2 houses down.
To the Shisha Den.
The shisha den.
Yeah.
I love shisha so much, and I've quit smoking,
Yeah.
and I just can't smoke any tobacco, or else I'll be
There's
hooked again.
non-tobacco shisha.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right then.
Yeah. No nicotine.
No nicotine. You know what
It's
though?
horrible.
It's
Hmm.
horrible.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the. I smoked
No.
the herbal shisha for many years, and
Just can't do it now.
it's good, but it's not the same.
Mhm.
You know, there's like a certain flavor. There's a certain punch to the lungs that I enjoy from the tobacco. That's just like, oh.
Totally.
And of course, the calming, soothing effect.
I think it's more of. The thing about smoking with me was that I always had the feeling like, if I'm gonna die, it's gonna be on my own time. If I'm gonna do if shit's gonna happen, it's gonna be because of me, because I did it, because I chose, not any
Mhm.
outside influence. And I feel like that's why I always smoked.
Outside influence? For yourself.
No, my own influence.
'Cause he's
My
choosing
own-
to smoke,
I'm choosing to kill myself in a small way,
Totally.
on my own merits, without, other things doing it to me. Like
So
eating-
definitely other
no,
things doing it to you
If I'm
too.
eating some fucking GMO soy that has been co-partnered with the guys who make cures for cancer, well, obviously, I'm not going to eat that soy. I'm going to smoke a cigarette.
Oh, we didn't even touch on the cancer subject. I think that's another good topic for another day.
I think
Holy
so, too.
shit.
That's a whole other
That's
story.
like a fucking huge can of worms.
On what?
We'll touch on it real quick.
Cancer subject.
Places like Monsanto are coupled in with these other companies who are also pharmaceutical companies who are making the cancer curing stuff, you know, radiation.
Cancer treatments.
Baloney.
Bullshit,
Yeah.
cancer treatments.
Officer
Just
baloney.
prolong your shit longer. And so they're kind of putting shit in the food that gives you cancer because they're partnered with the people. They're getting
Totally.
revenue off of the pharmaceuticals you gotta buy and all the shit you gotta go through.
Oh my lord.
Which is a whole other rant we gotta go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the fact that DCA was proven to reverse cancer in 4 patients
What's
discovered by
DCA?
DCA is a common drug that is already used to treat. I forget the disorder. I'll have to look it up before we have that rant. But the thing is, we've been using it for years, so we are well aware of the side effects. And it was proven by the University of Alberta to reverse the effects of cancer in 4 patients. They showed this.
Mm-hmm.
This was in 2007. Think about how fast technology evolves,
Oh.
especially medical technology.
Yeah.
Where would we be if this had been allowed to... In fact, it is still being allowed to be investigated and researched, but really, I mean, I think at this point, we probably know that it could be completely cured, and it's not going to be, because there's no way to make money on DCA, because it's a generic drug.
Yeah.
Yep. And there was something called a sour... What was that? It was a sour... Fuck.
Sour fuck?
Sour fuck.
Are you talking about
Eat
my...
the sour fuck.
Oh dear.
It's strong, 10 times stronger than any radiation for cancer treatments. And it's
Yeah, we want to
definitely-
take that.
Definitely been...
Smoke weed, kid.
No, it's a fruit. It's a fruit that grows on a tree.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it's been suppressed. By
It's not
the-
10 times more radiation.
No,
It's 10
no,
times
yeah.
more effective against cancer.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was maybe poorly worded. It's 10 times stronger than radiation.
It'll knock the cancer right out of you. Bam.
Or give you, some sort of strange mutation, but that's...
And the fellow we watched that video of the other night, that doctor from Germany or something where he was from, we watched it right here. He was talking about making the body alkaline.
Oh, right, yeah.
The first, they claim to have cured, I guess,
I can't remember
hundreds
the
and hundreds
numbers.
of cancer patients already by making the body alkaline. Alkaline is the opposite end of acidity. So if you look at one end of the pH scale, there's acid. And if you look at like a battery, like Energizer batteries run on the acidic end of it, and it's got that power. And alkaline is copper top Duracell, and they have the same amount of power that comes through their batteries. Actually, theirs lasts longer and doesn't die off as quick.
Yeah.
And so by making the body alkaline is the way to get rid of the cancer. And that's what they were doing by alkalining the body. And I think there was another step or something they went through. One guy had even gone as far as doing a blood transfusion, alkalining his blood and re-putting it back into his body. And
Yeah,
it's working.
he managed to cure cancers that way. But of course,
And
like
again, suppression,
information suppression.
information suppression.
Yeah.
And I fear that
Copyright it and buy it out.
I fear that the takedown of all of these like sharing sites is really going to like cut out a lot of the stuff that we're going to be able to share. Because imagine if YouTube gets the pressure to delete that video, which I've already saved just in case. If YouTube gets the pressure to get rid of that right now,
Or we're shutting down more shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look into like perpetual motion machines that have been developed, if I made a
That's a
motion
dirty word.
machine and if I just threw the designs up on YouTube for the world to have, that shit might get deleted and taken down. So like my
Not
other
if you
option,
don't copyright it.
it's not about the copyright.
No, it's because he's
It's
talking
because
about
of
free energy.
Free energy because of technology involved. So it's like we're kind of YouTube is very corporate. It's owned by Google and everything. Google's very corporate that way. I don't feel that Google is into free energy or any of this kind of stuff because of who they're all tied with.
They have
And-
such a nice guy veneer.
Yeah. And
Google.
Google. Oh, I know. I'm on Google Plus, and I can tell just by all the people who are on there and the way that they talk about like all the Occupy stuff and everything is such like a negative
What's
connotation.
Google Plus?
Google Plus is the Facebook of Google.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
social
Yeah,
networking.
social networking by Google.
It's actually kind of a better system too.
It's a
But
way
people
better
that you
system.
know or people you don't know?
People you know, people I don't know. I have more people I don't know than I know. And I've reached out to people all over the world.
Cool.
And I've met tons of cool people, but everyone does have this like very geeky, I'm a techno geek, I gotta have my iPod, or I gotta have everything synced together, or life just fucking sucks. I'm like, why would you ever want to live without that? Kind of thing. So very like electronic people.
Digital age.
Yeah. Digital people.
Weird
Digital
for
age.
me.
Yep.
I feel like we're gonna have this extreme dichotomy in humans very soon, where it's like half the people in the world are actually living almost entirely online, and the other half are so affected by it that they've backlashed and just gone back to the woods.
Yeah.
You know?
That's kind of what I want to do. I want to get rid of everything and just do stand-up comedy. Do you know what I don't need for any of this? For stand-up comedy, I don't need fucking computer. I don't need anything. I need this all
Your
for
brain.
doing my music, for recording. I need these fancy microphones. I need all this space and quiet and power bills and all that shit. But for comedy, I just need a book and write some shit down. There we go. If ever I want to record it, I'm sure there's some fucking recording studios around I can go into.
I'm sure there is.
Giggity goo. I think we're done tonight. Thank you for being here.
You're very
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you.
Thanks for having me.
This has been Jane Clay.
And
Into the Deep.
Kayla.
And Kayla, I guess. Also, on the Jerk Off Hour. Skeet skeet.